Alright, you and I are about to dive into a story where playing a game hundreds of times is actually a survival skill. No selection, no warning. He wakes up as the most pathetic demon prince, a background character destined to die in the brutal war for the Dark Throne. Instead of panicking, he celebrates. The worst starting point actually offers the best hidden opportunities. He exploits every secret, hunts hidden loot, builds alliances, and uses one specific broken mechanic to his advantage. Getting hit means gaining skills, slowly turning a doomed side character into something the original plot never saw coming. A while back, our main character was just a regular guy named Juing Gong. His parents gave him that name hoping he would be influential. In Korean, it literally means main character. He walked into a shop and someone yelled his name. The man grinned and said, "There he is." People mocked his name since he was a kid, but he didn't care. He truly wanted to be the hero. He glared at the guy and told him to quit laughing. Then he asked, "Is the game here?" The man chuckled and said he saved it. Night Saga Re, a remake of a classic story about humans and demons. You either play as the hero Locke or the demon heir Zephyrogneros, traveling the world and completing epic quests along the way. He beat the original game 10 times as a kid. He knows everything. Plus, this is the first time it is in virtual reality. Later, Juing Gong got home and plugged the drive into his headset. He sat down and put it on. Our main character smiled, saying he would not be playing very long today. He planned for 8 hours. Soon, he opened his eyes and looked around. Wait, is he already inside the game? This is weird. He usually wakes up in a bed. Who is this character? Suddenly, a voice shouted from outside. Is he still asleep? An orc peeked in and told him to get out. Did he forget his duties? The main character gasped. The graphics look so real. The orc just stared. Graphics? What are those? He thought. He can actually talk to them? The ads never mentioned this. He asked, "Okay, what is my name again?" Karak. The orc sighed. "Everyone is waiting for Prince Shutra, so move it. We have got work to do." Shutra, the 9th son of the Demon King. But he had not even picked a hero yet. This is bad. Why him? He waved his hand, trying to force the status window to appear in front of him. He checked the system and realized he was stuck as Prince Shutra. Even basic characters have 10 points per stat. Why is he so weak? Now, here is where it gets interesting. Take a look at these conquest and main character settings. Does main character settings mean what he thinks? Karak poked his head back in and ordered him to move. Shutra replied that he was coming. He stepped outside and saw a whole group of orcs waiting. He asked Karak if a war was starting. The orc told him to shut up and keep moving. They need to wipe out the Crimson Light idiots. Shutra yelled, "What?" Karak reminded him this is their first fight. It is starting. Shutra screamed for them to stop. Fight? What about his training? The rebellion was already fully organized. Does this mean he has to deal with the 7th prince and 8th princess already? He wondered. Are they really going to war now? Karak said they were only out on patrol today. Right. Karak asked what was wrong since he was acting so weird. Shutra just opened his system window. You and I both know a mini-map is a lifesaver. He decided to keep it open at all times. He spotted a hidden area. Is this an event? He told them they would be walking for hours, so they should follow him through a shortcut. Karak looked confused, but the group followed. The orcs climbed a stone wall, and Shutra stopped at some massive doors. Karak was shocked. How did he find this place? Is he a mage or something? Shutra just laughed. Karak asked if he was okay because he looked exhausted. Shutra had no idea level 1 was this draining. He told them to see if the door would open. Suddenly, power surged through him. His level had actually gone up. This cannot be right. He leveled up just by walking. His stats jumped by 2, plus 2 extra points. This is insane. Karak turned around and asked what he was doing. They had to keep moving into the dark. Shutra followed. He did not know what was in there, but at least he was not going in alone. Besides, he has got plot protection. They entered the cave and Karak noted that dwarves must have dug this place. Dwarves? He thought they were gone. Karak said they used to exist, but not anymore. And that is where we leave it, trust me. You are going to want to see what is waiting below. Alright. You and I are diving into a world where our main character just found a massive hoard of loot left behind by some unlucky dwarves. The orcs are laughing as they grab every single piece of gold they can find, while our guy just looks around in awe. Suddenly, a system window pops up, level too low, strength too low. Even his magic isn't enough to handle this. But he's not leaving empty-handed. He's going to stuff as much as he can into his inventory and just tells everyone to take it. He realizes he just needs to touch the treasure and think. But before they can celebrate, he screams for them to run. The orcs turn around just as the wall in front of them completely shatters, sending stones flying everywhere in a massive explosion. Kaichin, general of the Crimson Light tribe, appears and mocks them for thinking they could hide. He immediately orders his men to kill. The red orcs charge in. absolutely wrecking the green orcs. Our main character watches the chaos, wondering if he should jump in and steal some easy experience points. He swings his sword and brings it down on an orc's head, but the monster just turns around, looking more annoyed than actually hurt. Panicking, the main character tries to bolt, but trips over a rock and faceplants hard onto the ground. His system window flashes red, he's down to just 1 health point. He lets out a terrified scream as the orc raises its massive hand. Just then, Carrick leaps in front of him, blocking the blow. He shouts for the prince to get out of there while he can. He stands up, hands shaking uncontrollably. He tries to tell himself it's just a game and he's had enough for one day. Now pay attention, because here's where things get terrifying. He tries to open the menu, but there's no way to log out. There is no exit anywhere. Does this mean he's actually trapped inside this brutal, creepy world forever? Kaichin steps forward and aims his staff. Before the main character can even scream, a blast of magic pierces through his body and sends him flying back. Everything goes black as his health hits 0. He wakes up in a void, wondering where he is and if he's truly dead. He was definitely killed by those orcs. But then, a bright glow appears, and a mysterious voice tells him he is destined to conquer, enslave, and rule. A girl reaches out her hand to him, leaving the main character completely speechless. Back in the real world, the cave battle is still raging. Kaichin smirks, surprised that his enemies are putting up such a weak fight. He can't tell if they're arrogant or just plain stupid, but he's done wasting time. He orders them all to be killed. Suddenly, Shutra snaps his eyes open. Kaichin is stunned. How is this kid still alive after that direct hit? A system alert rings out. He just unlocked level 1 telekinesis. He stares at the screen in shock, wondering when he learned that. He looks at his new subclass Conqueror Knight. Kaichin is losing it, screaming at his men to finish the job already. Karak sees the change and orders the green orcs to form a wall. They have to protect the prince at any cost now. Shutra clenches his fist as he reads the window. The Conqueror Knight isn't even on the list of normal classes. Something is very different about this. He jams his broken sword into the dirt, looking like a man who suddenly knows exactly what he needs to do to survive. Let's watch this closely. He recites the words, "The power of conquest shall be the power of a king." Under the royal banner, the orcs are suddenly covered in a thick mana. The system confirms a level 1 buff for all his allies. The green orcs can feel the surge of power through their veins and shout for joy. They've finally become strong enough to fight. They rush forward, tearing into the red orcs. Kaichin is absolutely losing his mind, wondering what kind of magic could do this. His enemies are suddenly unstoppable, and he realizes it's all coming from that kid. He points a finger and demands an explanation. Kaichin charges toward the prince, screaming for him to stop. But Shutra just looks at him and gives Carrick the signal. He fires a blast of mana to distract Kaichin. Then, with one swift motion, Karak cuts the enemy general's head clean off while the others watch. The enemies start to retreat, but the green orcs aren't about to let any of them escape alive. The system announces that the general's kill points belong to the king. Shutra's level skyrockets as he smiles at the notification. Karak stares at his own hands, wondering where this insane power came from. Was it really all because of the prince? A while later, they're back at camp. Shutra is sitting in his tent, frantically searching for something he can't find. There is absolutely no exit button. He tells himself to stay calm. Either this is a massive virtual reality bug, or something much weirder is happening. Maybe an update will fix it. But then there's the crazy possibility this might not be a game at all. He's ended up in a real world, just like those stories. Or maybe this world is actually his own past come to life. These NPCs are way too real. He checks his pants and realizes there's no censorship here. This is definitely another world. He can't risk dying now. But hey, at least he's not a monster. He's a prince who was born into a life of luxury. Suddenly, Karak enters the tent and asks the prince if he has a spare minute to talk about something important. You and I just saw a legend wake up. But why is Carrick suddenly asking for a sparring match? Alright, Karak says, knowing the prince's skill helps them prepare. But you and I know Shutter isn't so sure. He catches the wooden sword Karak tosses his way. Karak tells him not to worry, he'll try to hold back. Shutter laughs, reminding Karak that he's currently talking down to a prince in a pretty disrespectful way. He charges in, shouting that if Karak wants to fight, he needs to take it seriously. Karak just thrusts forward. Shutter tries to land a hit but misses wildly. Karak smirks, imagining an egg smashing against a solid stone. He shoves the prince back, sending him screaming to the ground. Karak quickly asks if he's actually okay. Shutter asks why he hit so hard. Meanwhile, the system announces basic sword mastery level 1 is unlocked. Shutter realizes he just gained a skill. His eyes widen as the truth of his situation finally clicks. It's like telekinesis or something. He gets skills by taking damage. Karak tells him to finish up and leave. Now, watch this. Shutter asks who said it was over, looking Karak in the eye before gripping his sword and charging back in. Karak notices his movements are getting much sharper. How was he so pathetic at the very beginning? His skills couldn't have improved that fast. Yet he effortlessly dodges Karak's heavy sword swing while looking for an opening. Shutter asks how that was for a move. Karak checks and says the prince is level 21, which shocks Shutter. Shutter sees he's only level 7, but he'll catch up soon. In this world, everyone has a level visible through a system. Most people can't just see levels like he can. Usually, you would need a specific level estimation spell. Being able to see stats and manually improve them is a massive advantage. Shutter pushes off and charges in again. He lands right in front of Karak, realizing he can get stronger much faster than anyone else in this world. The Demon arc in the Night Saga tells the story of Zephyr, the sibling who eventually became the Demon King. There are many chapters left, but the most important event is the forced killing day coming in the future. In the year 517, Zephyr kills all his siblings to reach his goal. That means Shutter is on the hit list too. It is currently the year 512. He has 5 years to stop this by becoming stronger than Zephyr himself. Later, Shutter is resting on a log when Karak bursts through the bushes looking for him. Karak asks what the prince is doing out here, since he's been searching everywhere. Shutter asks what happened. Karak asks if he forgot about today's meeting. Shutter is confused, but Karak says everyone is already waiting. He looks puzzled, but soon he's sitting at the table laughing, telling the others they arrived early. Chris Moonlight, the 7th prince, asks why he's being so formal. After all, they are brothers. Caitlin Moonlight, the 8th princess, notes this is their first meeting. Chris says he should just use their names. Shutter agrees. He remembers these are the children of Elaine Moonlight, the 4th queen and leader of the lycanthropes. In the game, these two were always a lot of trouble. You and I are looking at two people destined to die at the hands of Zephyr and the demon children, all because of Caitlin Moonlight's secret birth. She is actually a bastard child. Caitlin asks why he tried to fight without a plan during his patrol. Shutter claims he didn't know they were there. Caitlin moves in closer to check him for injuries. Shutter looks confused as she examines him. Caitlin tells him he's the weakest and needs to be careful. Shutter wonders why she's so worried. Since when were the Demon King's children this close? Chris warns him about reprimands. Shutter just smiles and agrees. He can't help but wonder if they're actually kind people. Lycanthropes usually have a lot of mana thanks to their life force. Shutter gets an interesting idea. If he gains skills by getting hit, maybe he can learn mana too. He asks them for a request. He asks if they can hit him with their aura, leaving them totally puzzled before the scene shifts to orcs fighting. Red orcs are screaming loudly as they launch an attack. Their leader turns and hits one of his own, ordering them to kill. Whoever kills the most gets a reward. Suddenly, Shutter is pulled into a strange space where he sees a mysterious girl. He realizes he's seen her before, but he has no idea who these characters are supposed to be. The girl appears behind him, and a bright light swallows him whole. Shutter suddenly wakes up in his bed. He grabs his head, wondering if it was all a dream. Karak asks if he's awake, making Shutter jump in fear. Karak says he seems fine, then asks why he wanted the princess to hit him. Shutter checks his status. The system confirms he's gained level 1 aura. Trust me, you and I just watched him pull off the impossible. Alright, you and I are diving back in as our main character reveals a shocking secret. Karak asks if those crimson light flames finally awakened his aura, and the answer is a solid yes. Karak nods, but Shutter wants to know if anything happened while the boy was still asleep. It turns out the main forces wiped out the Crimson Light tribe, leaving the main character stunned. He thought only his small group could do it, but Karak says this tribe is way too massive. When he asks who was in command, Karak drops a legendary name, General Bandle. Bandle is a total beast, a hero he respected in his past life. This is his big chance. In the year 515, Bandle serves Zephyr, but right now, he is still up for grabs. He knows the general's favorite foods and talents. A duel is the perfect lure to catch him. Now watch, if he plays this right, he steals Zephyr's strongest soldier before the original timeline. There is plenty of time to make Bandle his. Suddenly, a massive shout echoes through the camp. Chris is screaming. How did the main character reach Aura level 1 in a single day? It was no mistake. Aura buffs every ability, making it much better than telekinesis. Chris is baffled. Is it because he's a Gandharva? Shooter asks about the underground maps instead. He doesn't have a map, but his mini-map system makes drawing one for them easy. Chris looks at the final result and calls him a literal genius. The main character laughs. Caitlin notes that the tribe doesn't know their secret tunnels are now totally exposed. Chris wants to set an ambush, but first, he has one more important question. He looks at him curiously. Does this mean they have to go back on patrol again? There is no choice. Being the youngest in the family comes with a lot of heavy lifting. Karak is just glad they have reinforcements now, thanks to everyone's literal blood and sweat. Suddenly, they stop dead. Our main character asks his sister why she's wearing that strange cloak. You and I both know she is up to something. She tells him to stay quiet. She was secretly following him to provide protection. Is she actually losing her mind? The girl introduces herself as Sarah, the adjutant, and the hero officially greets her back. She promises to cover them, so they head into the cave, only to find it empty. Carrick explains that no one leaves valuables behind. Those dwarfs clearly took every single thing. Shooter asks about the weapons from last time, but Carrick says they weren't worth taking. As they push deeper, Carrick senses something. "Prince, we have some company coming our way." He hears it too. He checks the minimap and sees them closing in fast. He pulls a flash spell from his inventory and tells everyone to shut their eyes on command. Carrick is confused until a swarm of massive spiders crawls out of the darkness. These stone spiders hunt in packs and carry paralyzing poison. "Everyone, close your eyes right now." He tosses the potion, and a blinding explosion of light fills the entire cave system. The spiders are totally helpless. They live in darkness and cannot handle the sudden glare. He gives the order to strike, and the orcs charge forward to finish them. But these things hunt in groups. The main character shouts for Karak to help him find the leader. Karak rushes forward, only to be blocked by a monster of absolutely massive proportions. He swings his heavy axe with a roar, but then his eyes go wide with shock. The shell is too strong. The main character realized an axe won't scratch that thick exoskeleton. Fire is their only weakness, but he can't use magic yet. The beast opens its toothy mouth. He tells Karak to use fire, but the warrior has no way to make any. Suddenly, a voice shouts for Shutra to raise his sword. Fiery mana floods the blade. His sister has arrived. The creature strikes, and the main character rushes headlong into the fight. And trust me, you and I just witnessed a legendary start to this war. Alright, you and I are back with Shutra as mana swirls around him, and he joyfully watches his status window hit level 9 today. Caitlin asks about the other world he came from. Shutra simply nods and says it is real. He calls it a blessing and tells her not to worry. Caitlin wonders aloud if he is actually a Gandharva. Shutra confirms the Gandharva blessing. She is more shocked by his reflexes, wondering if he has fought these monsters before. He lies, saying he only read about them. In reality, he has slain these beasts countless times in his past lives. Suddenly, Carrick points toward the shadows, telling the young prince to take a look at something ahead. Shutra turns, and Karak mentions a hidden door. They push it open slightly and slip into the darkness together. His eyes widen. Is this a city portal? Carrick is confused, asking if he actually recognizes this ancient technology. Shutra says he has an idea. Looking closer, he recognizes the distinct, heavy patterns of ancient dwarven craftsmanship. He never saw these as Zephyr, but he remembers them clearly from his time playing as the great hero. Now pay attention, because this discovery is about to change everything. He thinks mana will activate this portal. Caitlin pulls back her hood, stunned by the word portal. Sarah chimes in, thinking the prince might actually be right. Caitlin asks where it leads, and Sarah starts searching the walls for any kind of inscriptions or clues. Karak spots an engraving and waves the prince over. He has found something carved deep into the stone here. Shutra and Caitlin approach. These are not demonic runes, they are ancient dwarven letters etched into the surface. Karak asks if she can read them, but Caitlin and Sarah both apologize. Dwarven is not exactly a common language. Shutra reads it aloud. Portal number 2 in the Gishkov Mountains, connected directly to portal number 3. Everyone stares at him in pure shock. Since when can the young prince read the ancient language of dwarves? A system window pops up. He has gained the dwarven language skill. He wonders if learning languages is really this easy. Karak asks if he can truly read it. Shutra confirms, leaving Caitlin baffled about where he learned such a skill. He explains the bottom text. To activate the portal, they need to flood the mechanism with pure mana. He asks Caitlin to do it. She is annoyed, but Shutra claims he has not quite mastered his own energy yet. Truth is, he cannot use magic at all right now. Caitlin sighs and agrees to handle the heavy lifting. She pours her mana in, and the room erupts in light, projecting a massive hologram of the mountain range. This map shows their current location and the exit at Portal 3. It means the dwarven tunnels run deep here. This is huge. Karak notes that the Crimson Flame main forces are stationed right in front of these mountains. Shutra realizes they can now strike from the rear. They need to get back and discuss this with his brother. The group agrees and heads back to camp immediately to share the news of their game-changing find. Back at camp, the news causes an absolute stir. Nobody can believe Shutra found a hidden portal in the wild. Our main character stays humble, but Chris tells him to ask for anything he needs as a reward. Shutra tries to wave it off, but Chris insists. As his older brother and leader, he will not take no. Shutra smiles, asking if an unreasonable request is okay. Now, Chris is officially intrigued by what he wants. Wait, did he just ask for that? He wants to learn the Beast God's hand-to-hand combat art. Chris is stunned. Shutra's level is too low for heavy weapons. But martial arts techniques are a different story. This style is a legendary art passed down through the royal family of lycanthropes for countless generations. Basically, this is a powerful S-rank martial art. Shutra knows it is a massive favor and tells Chris he will understand if the answer is no. Chris agrees to teach him the basics, though he has to keep the most secret techniques hidden for now. Shutra is thrilled, but his sudden silence makes Chris worry that the young prince is actually disappointed. He cheers, saying everything is perfect. Chris smiles, asking if he can finally consider Shutra a true brother. Shutra pauses. Brother. It is a heavy word, but he realizes he actually likes the sound of it. He shakes Chris's hand firmly. Mentally, he hopes that he, Chris, and Caitlin can truly work together from now on. The system pings. An official alliance has been forged between Shutra, Chris Moonlight, and Caitlin Moonlight. Alliance status is now set to normal as the bond between the royal siblings grows even stronger. Over at the Crimson Light camp, a mysterious orc princess arrives with a strange warning. Trust me, you and I aren't ready for what comes next. Alright, stick with me, as we see Princess Felicia Doomblade tied up, while Shutra checks his system for his charisma stat. Back when he first leveled up, every single stat jumped by 2 points. But now, his charisma only goes up by 1. See, in the original game, charisma and appearance were actually separate stats. Appearance is just about looks, but charisma determines how much everyone else in this world actually likes you. Shutra knows there is a trick to it, especially since he is almost at level 10 in this game world. Once Zephyr and Locke hit level 10, their unique skills, Scion of Darkness and Chosen One, get a major level up. Shutra wonders if reaching level 10 will finally give his own skills that same massive boost. Carrick pops his head into the tent, asking if the prince is ready to roll out. Shutra just nods. Carrick noticed that Shutra was in a surprisingly good mood today, but the prince just brushed him off and ordered the orcs to start the march. Before long, the army of orcs and wolves is pushing deep into the dark caverns. Entering the portal hall, Chris asks for an update on the investigation, and his wolf soldier confirms it is done. This gateway leads straight to the Eska River in the Gishkov Mountains. Chris is just glad the thing still works. The wolf confirms it is solid dwarven tech. Without missing a beat, Chris gives the order to move out. Now watch this, the portal flares to life, and Shutra can hardly believe he is seeing a real gate. Caitlin tells him to quit stalling, so they all dive into the light and teleport straight onto the mountain peak. Perfect. The enemy camp is right where they thought, looking to be about 5,000 soldiers strong. If they hit them from behind, they will have the ultimate advantage. While General Bandel distracts them from the front, spies will burn their food. But Sarah senses something is seriously off. The camp is practically empty. Chris realizes she is right. Where did everyone go? Maybe the attack already started. Shutra looks toward the horizon. Wait, is that the sound of steel clashing? A battle is raging nearby. Chris tells Shutra to channel his aura into his eyes. He tries it, and suddenly, his vision sharpens. Caitlin spots the Crimson Light tribe fighting someone, but Chris knows for a fact these are not Bandel's soldiers. No battle was scheduled for today, but this is a massive brawl. Then, Shutra spots a girl. Are those dark elves? Caitlin is shocked. Dark elves? Shutra confirms it, seeing the small warriors riding into the fray on actual dragons. Riding dragons? Chris notices the elves are already pulling back now that their commander has been taken down. You and I can see they are fleeing fast. Carrick wonders if the fight is over, while Shutra puzzles over their presence. Later, they reach General Bandel. He is impressed that Prince Chris managed to track down a hidden dwarven portal. He wants to know how Chris found it, but Chris admits it was actually the 9th prince who made the discovery. Shutra just plays it off as pure luck, but he starts carefully analyzing the general's reaction. Bandel is actually happy to see him, promising that the Demon King will reward him handsomely back at the castle. Chris brings up the skirmish they saw at the enemy camp, asking if the general has any intel on it. Bandel figures it was the Dark Elves. Apparently, those guys decided to jump into the war on their own. But why are elves fighting the Crimson Tribe? Weren't they supposed to be reinforcements sent by the Demon King? Bandel isn't sure. It seems they were just supposed to scout the area before making a real move. But clearly, something went sideways. When Chris asks what happened, Bandel drops a bombshell. He suspects the Dark Elf's elite squad was captured by the enemy. That explains why they fought so desperately. Shutra steps in, demanding to know who was actually leading that captured squad. Bandel doesn't hesitate. It is someone they know very well, their own sister, the 6th princess, Felicia Doomblade. As the daughter of Queen Sylvia and twin to the 5th prince, she is absolute royalty among the dark elves of this world. In the game, Felicia and her twin are loyal to Anastasia, the 4th princess's faction. That makes them Shutra's enemies. So why is she here? Maybe she is trying to prove her worth. Chris wonders if the Crimson Light idiots even know who they caught. Bandel says it is anyone's guess. Nothing is confirmed yet, but when Chris asks about their next move, Bandel says they have to save her. Chris asks if they will negotiate, but the general refuses to bow down to these savages first. And that's where we leave it. You and I will have to wait and see if they save her. Trust me. You and I are about to see if Chris actually makes the call. He pauses. realizing their unrivaled sister has been taken as a hostage. Caitlin is adamant they need to save her if she is still alive. Chris shuts it down, saying it just won't work. If they go in, they will likely all get slaughtered together. Caitlin screams that they must save her. They have to. She is their sister. Chris frowns and says he knows, but our main character looks at him questioningly. Soon, the wolves are standing near the tents while the demons are inside the camp. Chris says the plan is easy. Once General Bandel draws the main forces of the Crimson Light tribe away, they will strike from the rear. Then, he will head straight for the center to cause maximum chaos. Caitlin and Shutra will each lead their own squads for the mission. Our main character asks if the goal is saving their sister. Chris confirms it. First, they burn the weapons and supplies. Then they save Felicia, but if it gets too dangerous, they have to retreat immediately. They cannot lose more lives for Felicia. Caitlin screams in anger, but Chris tells her to quiet down. She screams that Felicia is family, questioning how he can be so cold. Chris just stands his ground as commander. Here is the part you and I need to watch. Chris is in no rush to save Felicia. Did something happen between them? A loud order rings out. Forward, warriors. They are going to destroy those idiots from the Crimson Light tribe. Chris looks down from the mountain at the enemy camp. He frowns as a strike is fired. Bandel charges forward, ordering Shutra's squad to kill them all. Karak asks why they are just standing there as the attack begins. Shutra replies that they are waiting for the signal. The orcs are fighting when a cry suddenly breaks out. It is time. They are retreating. Chris looks at the wolves and tells everyone to get ready to move. They stick to the plan and rush into the attack, striking hard. Caitlin tells Shutra to be careful, but he says she should watch herself too. He checks the map and heads for the ammunition depot. He orders the kill and attacks, but the orc swings a heavy fist. Okay, I know what you are thinking, but watch this. Level 1 dagger throwing is now unlocked for him. He smirks as Karak asks if he learned to throw daggers. Shutra just says it is nothing special. Just keep moving. He only practiced yesterday and already got the skill. Karak spots the warehouse and says they just need to burn it. Shutra agrees. But wait, if Felicia is inside, she might burn. They need to find her first. Karak asks how they will find her. Shutra tells him to wait. He checks the system window, thinking Felicia should be a neutral NPC marked in blue or purple. He shouts for Karak, and the orc answers that he is coming. He bursts into the tent, searching for Felicia, but she is nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, he hears her voice coming from the side. Felicia is kneeling in chains. She looks up in pure shock, asking what Shutra is doing there. He starts untying her, telling her to stay still. It is too dangerous to talk now. He needs to get her out. Having Felicia in his debt will be very useful. They leave the tent, and Shutra tells her they are finally out. He tells her to run to Chris and Caitlin. She is stunned they actually came for her. Why wouldn't they? Felicia says it is simple, as she was already written off in the power struggle. Karak interrupts them, shouting that the enemy is coming. Shutra tells her to move, but she is distracted because he just called her by name. She screams a warning as mana suddenly pierces his body from behind. He screams as a bright flame erupts. Felicia screams out for Shutra in terror. An orc appears, and she tries to fight it off. Mana suddenly flies into the monster's head. Skill acquired. He now has level 1 mana control. He smirks. Fire arrow level 1 has been unlocked. He laughs, thrilled with his real magic. It is only level 1, but it is cool. Then he sees ice. An archer is aiming right at Felicia. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Alright, let's dive into the moment. Felicia asks Shutra if he's okay, only for him to shove her back. She's stunned, wondering why he'd take those ice arrows for her, but Shutra has a much bigger plan in mind. An explosion rocks the area, and suddenly, the system alerts him he just unlocked the level 1 ice arrow skill. Shutra laughs, realizing his gamble paid off, but his health is crashing, dropping all the way down to 13. He's in critical condition. Shutra realizes he's one hit away from a nightmare ending, while his health bar flashes red. Felicia calls him an idiot, scowling and asking who even told him to play the hero and save her. She crosses her arms, reminding him he's the weakest among the siblings. So why was he trying to save anyone? Shutra realizes there's a massive misunderstanding here, but he's too stunned by her attitude to even respond. Felicia eyes the dead orc, asking when he learned magic, totally oblivious that she actually knocked out the enemy mage. She pulls the ice arrow out and starts healing him instantly. Shutra gets another system alert for level 1 healing. He stares at the notification, amazed at how his wounds are already closing up from her magic. You and I are finally seeing the brilliant Felicia Doomblade in action as she asks if he can walk. Shutra says yes, thanking her for stopping the bleeding, but Felicia is confused about what blood he's even mentioning. Suddenly, a massive orc comes charging out of nowhere, screaming at the top of its lungs in a total rage. Shutra identifies it as a blood ogre, a dangerous mutation. Felicia knows they have to deal with this monster immediately. They start hauling it away from the beast as Shutra panics, wondering how on earth they're supposed to fight this. The ogre swings a fist, and Shutra can't believe how fast it's moving for such a huge creature. Felicia tells Shutra to buy her some time while she prepares a spell to blow the creature to Kingdom Come. They dodge a crushing blow as Shutra screams out an okay, promising to bait the monster while she gets ready. She asks how he'll provoke it, but he just ignores her and starts shouting for Karak to show himself. Karak appears, and Shutra tells him to get ready for their usual plan, as the warrior lets out a fierce cry. Shutra checks the system, realizing he finally has access to the dwarven blade for this fight. He slams the blade into the ground, activating the royal banner as a massive surge of mana completely covers Karak. Empowered by the sudden burst of strength, Karak lets out a roar and rushes in to attack. The ogre is caught off guard while Karak swings his axe, and Felicia sneaks behind to trigger her grease spell. A slippery puddle forms under the monster's feet, sending the massive beast crashing down into the dirt. Karak declares this the end, landing on the orc's body and delivering a brutal finishing kick to its stomach. Shutra celebrates the victory, relieved they've taken out the biggest threat even if a few enemies are still lurking around. A bright light engulfs his body as the system confirms Shutra has officially reached level 10. Finally, level 10. And let's be real, this is where things get interesting for our main character. This is amazing. The system informs him that he's unlocked a new passive skill as a level 2 protagonist. Time for a gift. It's battlefield defense. Now, any projectile aimed at Shutra has a lower chance of actually hitting him. Shutra is hyped. He realizes this is basically the legendary stormtrooper effect in action. Imagine bullets flying everywhere, but somehow, not a single one manages to touch the hero. He's basically crafting his own plot armor, but the noise draws in a horde of orcs, leaving Felicia screaming in panic. Shutra tells her to let loose, and she unleashes a whirlwind of fury to blow them all away. Shutra watches in awe, realizing this isn't just normal magic he's seeing on screen. It's spirit magic. Even as a dark elf, Felicia proves she's way more than just a pretty face. She's a natural spirit summoner. Meanwhile, Karak is confused by the flames and asks what he should do. Shutra explains the yellow signal means retreat, and he wonders if someone is in serious danger. Karak asks for orders, and Shutra tells him to take the troops and get out of there immediately. He's heading to Caitlin, but Karak insists on staying right by his side. Shutra just adjusts his sleeves and tells him to follow orders. This isn't a suggestion. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when Felicia decides she's coming along too. Alright, you and I are about to see if Felicia can pay back her debts while smashing these orc pigs. Karak gave them a serious look and told them to stay safe. Shutra agreed, but Felicia wondered if they truly had to find Caitlin. Shutra wasn't sure. Felicia watched the signal, questioning if someone like her could really face such a crushing defeat. Shutra said they would just head back if things went south. Felicia narrowed her eyes, asking if he was actually worried about Caitlin. Shutra admitted she is his sister, after all. But deep down, he knew his worry came from their tactical alliance. Felicia gave him a knowing look before they spotted Caitlin. She was already tearing through the orc ranks with insane speed. Explosions rocked the battlefield as orcs screamed in agony. One tried to swing a heavy weapon, but she dodged and struck back instantly. Shutra and Felicia stood back, just taking in the absolute carnage. Felicia smirked, totally unimpressed. Shutra realized there was no need to worry as Caitlin turned and asked why they hadn't retreated yet. Shutra joked that they came to help, but she clearly had it covered. Caitlin just looked at him, completely confused. She suddenly lunged at Felicia, hugging her tight while shouting about how relieved she was that her friend was safe. Felicia blushed, telling her she was overreacting. Shutra watched the two of them, realizing their bond was actually way deeper than he thought. Suddenly, his map pinged. Enemies were circling back, and they needed to move out of there fast. The girls told him to lead the way while they covered the rear. Eventually, they made it back to the portal hall. Felicia crossed her arms, asking if Shutra really found the portal. Caitlin confirmed it. He had been the main contributor to this conquest. Felicia couldn't believe how much he'd changed before Chris finally appeared to greet them. Caitlin cheered, telling her brother she brought Felicia. She then turned to Chris, noting it had been a very long time. Chris gave a stiff nod. He then shared the news that General Bandel had secured a massive victory on his side too. That coward Yakuzan apparently surrendered the moment he saw the fires spreading through his camp. When Shutra asked for clarification, Caitlin reminded him that Yakuzan was the commander of the Crimson Light tribe. Did he forget? Felicia was surprised he surrendered, but Chris clarified that he actually just fled to gather more allies and fight later. Tomorrow, they would target Kair, the older brother of Kaichin. If he joined forces with Yakuzan, the situation would get very ugly. Now pay attention, because Chris stops the small talk to ask Felicia how she even ended up in this mess. Felicia looked away, claiming she was just exploring nearby ruins until she heard the sounds of battle and decided to help. Chris didn't seem to buy it, but eventually dropped the subject. He told everyone they were exhausted and it was finally time to rest. Caitlin agreed. Shutra had worked hard, and even Felicia gave a silent bow. As the army ate dinner, Shutra sat alone, carefully reviewing all the new skills he had managed to unlock during the chaotic battle. He realized that in the heat of combat, his aura was the only thing he could rely on. Felicia walked up to him, having changed her outfit. Shutra looked up, wondering what she wanted now. She got close, looking him in the eye, and bluntly asked him to take off his clothes. Shutra was completely stunned, but Felicia explained she just wanted to heal his various injuries. She admitted that the first aid earlier wasn't enough. There could be internal damage, so she needed to cast a proper high-tier spell to fix him up. I know what you're thinking. Shutra definitely expected a very different kind of tension here. Felicia noticed he was literally glowing. Shutra brushed it off as normal and told her he had a favor. A favor? Shutra nodded, saying it was something that only someone with her specific skills could do. The system notifications began to flood in. Level 1, healing, poison, cure, and disease removal were all successfully added to his arsenal. Shutra smiled to himself. This was exactly the kind of progress he needed to stay ahead. Felicia agreed to help, and just like that, he walked away with 3 powerful new restoration spells in hand. Flashback to the healing session, where the system confirmed he had officially mastered those essential survival skills. Shutra was planning ahead. Later, Caitlin began her lesson, explaining that there were many different schools of martial arts he needed to learn. Shutra was hyped to finally start hand-to-hand combat training. Today, they were focusing on the lethal beast technique. This specific style is modeled after the raw power and movements of lycanthropes. It serves as the foundation for the legendary beast god combat style. That is exactly why Caitlin chose to teach him this. She explained that this technique balances both internal and external aura. First, she would teach him how to control his inner energy. Trust me, you and I are about to see Shutra reach a whole new level as he closes his eyes. Stick with me, you and I are about to watch our main character tap into his aura, the power of life. Once it reaches the limit, it transforms into soul power. Shutra opens his eyes to see a glowing system window waiting. It reports he has received a passive skill, the first level Protagonist Constitution, a major advantage for our hero. This massive boost speeds up his physical skill learning. As the level rises, even more powerful traits will start to unlock. Shutra is shocked. Protagonist Constitution? He wonders. Wait, is this another bonus? He starts running through all his crazy skills. Protagonist Constitution, Archmage's Constitution, and Hero's Blood. He realizes they are all top-tier passive abilities. These belong to legends like Zephyr and Locke. New traits unlocking at every level means the system is adding new functions to his body. Shutra smirks to himself. So this is what it feels like to be a main character. Absolutely legendary. This is beyond cool, he thinks. Suddenly, Caitlin snaps him out of it, telling him he needs to stay focused on training. He asks for her forgiveness immediately. Caitlin nods, announcing that their real training is officially about to begin right now. Mana erupts around him. Bridge 2. Watch this closely, he just acquired the level 1 beast melee combat skill. Caitlin is blown away by how fast he mastered the basics. Shutra feels like his bare hands are now lethal weapons. Caitlin turns, ready for the next technique. But suddenly, a wolf warrior rushes in, shouting urgently for the princess. Chris frowns, reporting that Cume's troops have completely vanished. Caitlin is absolutely stunned. Chris replies that the idiot saw through their plan. Caitlin asks what their next move should be in this situation. Chris points to the map. Based on General Bandle's intel, Yakuzan and Kirim are likely meeting right at this specific coordinate. Shutra says, then it is time to launch our final, decisive attack. Chris smiles. They will join forces with General Bandle and wage total war against the entire Crimson Light tribe. At the Subjugation Force headquarters, Bandle greets Prince Chris, noting he has traveled a very long way for this battle. Chris laughs. The general has not changed a bit. It has been way too long since they last saw each other. Bandle looks over. It has been a while since he has seen the princess either. He asks Felicia how she is doing. Felicia tells them to quit chatting. She demands to know if her subordinates are ready. Bandle says they are doing fine. Shutra smiles. He used this character most in the game world, which is why everything here feels so incredibly familiar. He approaches Bandle, offering a hand. Nice to meet you. I am Shutra. Bandle stares back in disbelief before slowly extending a finger. So you are the 9th Prince, Shutra, he replies. Suddenly, visions of 2 mysterious girls flash before the main character's eyes. Shutra wakes up. Bridge 3. You and I know this dream is real. He has definitely seen the girl with unique eyes before. But who is that woman in red? Carrick tells him to move fast. Shutra heads outside. He has been assigned to the left flank for the massive battle that is about to kick off. Bandle commands the center, while Chris and Caitlin take the right. The Dark Elves unite to protect their rear lines. The march begins. Before he knows it, he is standing in the center of a battlefield surrounded by thousands of soldiers. Bandle orders everyone to form up. He is ready to show these idiots exactly what real pain feels like today. He swings his massive axe and roars, "Forward!" The fighters charge as the enemy laughs at them. A massive explosion rocks the field. Bandel turns, shocked, as a gigantic swamp mammoth emerges from the smoke. The beast starts tearing through the fighters, tossing them aside like ragdolls. Shutra cannot believe what he is seeing. He realizes they knew the plan from the start. That swamp mammoth is far more dangerous than any animal he has faced before. It is the definition of ugly. Lizardmen step forward, gripping sharp swords. Shutra realizes the enemy brought reinforcements. Chris realizes they have been played like fools. Caitlin screams for her brother. She thinks they need to retreat and find another way out. If they stay here, the losses will be catastrophic. They might all be killed. Caitlin insists they decide on a retreat immediately. Chris takes charge. He orders the mages to form a defensive wall at the rear and hold the line at all costs. Everyone else prepares to fall back. Suddenly, a lizardman breaks through the chaos and charges directly at Shutra. Shutra freezes, but Karak strikes the beast from behind, telling the main character to snap out of it now. One mistake and it is over. Shutra realizes Karak is right, this is not a game. It is life or death. Bridge 4. Trust me on this one, Chris orders everyone to return home alive. Do not dare die on him. Stick with me, because we are diving into a high-stakes meeting where Chris admits he made a massive mistake. Bandel just shrugs, saying what is done is done. Now, they either run or beg the demon castle for help. Chris hates it, but he agrees. He won't let his soldiers die just to save his own pride. That is when Felicia steps in, asking everyone to hold on while she thinks through a different plan. She originally came here to check out some ancient ruins near the Gishkov Mountains. Our main character knows she is a top-tier mage, but she is an explorer, not exactly a frontline fighter. Felicia explains that she has been obsessed with these specific ruins for years. We are talking about the lair of the stone dragon Enkidu, hidden here for 1500 years. This dragon was born from pure magma and gathered powerful guardians to protect his massive horde. Even the local dwarves became his sentinels, armed with special weapons to keep intruders away. Chris is stunned. Felicia reveals the prize, an anvil that literally creates thunder. Pay attention here, because this relic controls chimeras and can buff an entire army. It is their only shot at winning. This was her secret mission all along. Bandel asks if she actually knows where the anvil is. She admits she has no idea, which Chris thinks makes this whole lead pretty much useless. They have no clue when the enemy hits again. Chris won't risk lives on a random treasure hunt. Felicia is fuming, but Shutra steps up. He swears the anvil is definitely here. Everyone is shocked. He is thinking back to when he played the hero Locke and found this place. He lies, saying he read about it in dwarven runes. Plus, he makes it clear he trusts Felicia. He is definitely trying to score some points. Chris is still skeptical, saying trust is not the issue. Chris is being so stubborn. Shutra points to the peaks, mentioning a legend from the Gandharva tribe to back it up. He just needs them to take the bait. He argues the entrance must be nearby. If he scouts the area, he will find it, and he takes full responsibility. He asks them to believe in him just this once. Honestly, he is going totally for broke. Soon, the whole squad is racing through the clouds on phantom steeds summoned by Felicia herself. Shutra is relieved. At least he convinced them to let him look for the legendary anvil. Carrick is losing it, screaming that this is madness. He tells the prince to hold on tight. Shutra is not worried about falling. Back when he played as Zephyr, he pulled moves like this daily. He checks the map. At this speed, they will reach the entrance in about 1 hour. Now, you and I know his mini-map makes this easy, but he has to make it look natural. He looks thoughtful, knowing he has 60 minutes to come up with a believable lie. Later, Shutra claims he memorized the portal patterns. He says they follow a very specific dwarven logic. By matching the terrain to those tunnel positions, he can pinpoint exactly where the anvil is hidden. It worked. Karak and Caitlin are staring in disbelief, wondering what he is even talking about. Shutra just laughs nervously, hoping they stop asking questions and just follow his lead. Felicia tells him to lead the way. He is surprised, but she says she finally understands his logic. He was totally bluffing, but hey, it worked. He tells everyone to stay close and follow him. Felicia looks worried, and soon Karak points out they have hit a complete dead end. He asks if they are lost. Shutra just smirks, asking who said they were heading for the entrance. While Carrick looks confused, Shutra asks Caitlin if she can smash through this wall of rubble. She looks at the pile and asks if he is serious. Shutra tells her to hit it hard. Felicia can't believe the thunder anvil would be inside a plain rock. Shutra explains that breaking through here lets them skip all the dangerous dungeon guards. When he asks Caitlin to demolish the wall, Felicia starts yelling at him again. She calls him an idiot, asking if he thinks Caitlin is some kind of human battering ram. You and I are about to see that ruin experts have their own explosive ways of doing things. Alright, let's dive into a moment where one wrong move could end it all. Shrapnel flies everywhere as Felicia gasps in disbelief. How did they find this hidden dome so fast? Is the thunder anvil inside? Shutra confirms it. This is their final hurdle, the last line of defense. Karak wants to smash it, but Shutra stops him. Damaging the anvil now would be a fatal mistake. There is a hidden trick to opening this. Felicia points out the 9 statues looking incredibly eerie and strange. Only 3 of them are armed with weapons. Caitlin agrees that something about this setup is definitely off. Maybe the empty hands need steel? Felicia warns that a simple solution might lead them into a trap. These statues demand dwarven-crafted steel. That means they need 6 identical weapons to complete the puzzle and proceed. Where can they find 6 dwarven swords right now? Shutra just smiles. Turns out, he has exactly 6 in his inventory. Felicia spins around, screaming out in pure shock. Now, watch this part closely. Shutra kept these blades because his level was too low to wield them, but they just became the ultimate key. Talk about insane luck. He claims he just grabbed them while exploring those dark tunnels earlier on a whim. Karak is suspicious. When did he find time to stuff 6 massive swords into a single travel bag? Shutra just laughs it off. Does it really matter? The swords are heavy, and Karak needs to start moving fast. Karak calls him fragile but takes the load. Together, they start sliding the heavy steel into the golem's stone hands. Suddenly, a blinding light floods the chamber. The dome is finally opening, revealing the prize they have been seeking. Is this the legendary Anvil of Thunder? Shutra wonders, while Felicia warns everyone to stay back for one moment. The ancient records mention one final ritual to wake the anvil. Shutra looks confused as Felicia orders him and Karak to hold their exact positions. Everyone else takes positions at 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. They must pour their mana directly into the center disk. The flow moves clockwise. Gradually, they must increase the amount of mana being forced into the ancient stone device. She releases her energy and demands total focus. Everyone channels their power as Felicia yells for Shutra to push his mana even harder. He understands. She warns him to keep it up, because losing concentration now means death. Magic blankets the anvil. Then, a massive explosion of energy erupts, sending a pillar of mana screaming through the cave. Shutra sees ghosts of dwarves and a massive dragon. A booming voice calls them his vassals, demanding they listen closely. He watches the dragon through the mist. The voice tells him that he must guard the nest of Enkidu. He is the new sentinel, a shield standing between the world of humans and the dark kingdom of the demons. Shutra snaps awake, gasping for air. That was no dream. That was Enkidu, the legendary stone dragon of the mountains. Felicia saw it too. A titanic beast of black scales with molten lava pulsing through its very veins like blood. Karak clutches his head in pain. He saw the same dragon. They all shared the exact same terrifying ancient vision. The meaning is still a mystery. But Felicia knows the anvil is the key to finding the ultimate truth here. Trust me, things are about to get dangerous. She reaches out, and suddenly, dark mana surges from the cold iron. The energy grabs her and she screams. Shutra lunges forward, desperate to break the connection and save her from it. Caitlin and Karak scream as the mana floods Shutra instead. The prince groans as the dark power rips into him. This is subjugation. The trial of the stone dragon Enkidu falls upon anyone who enters without his divine permission. Power manifests in the darkness. Seconds later, Shutra is kneeling, clutching a hammer forged from pure, black dragon energy. While they struggle, a scout watches from the cliffs. An orc laughs through his lens, mocking their hidden campsite. He calls them fools for thinking they were safe. What's the plan? Should they just launch the attack right now? He is just waiting for the signal to spill demon blood. Lord Yakazan, commander of the Crimson Light, gives the order. It is time to wipe out every single demon survivor left here. The orcs look up to see streaks of fire raining down from the sky. Explosions rip through the ranks as mammoths charge. Chris panics because their strongest warriors are still deep inside that cave. They are sitting ducks. Yakazan laughs at the chaos, calling the demons stupid for ever stepping into his territory. This is the price of their arrogance. Now, he wants his warriors to move in and finish the job properly. Suddenly, the mage freezes. He tries to cast a spell, but his hands simply refuse to obey his commands. You and I are going to see a total reversal next time, as the mammoths turn on their masters. Alright. You and I are jumping into a moment where everything goes chaotic as Chris yells, "What is happening? Why are they attacking?" Right then, Shutra is on his knees, clutching a massive hammer. Felicia gasps, realizing it is not just the anvil, but a thunder hammer too. It seems Enkidu has chosen him. Shutra asks him again, but Felicia just shouts in total shock, "What?" He is standing up. Let him use it. Shutra stares at the hammer as Enkidu's mana floods his mind, teaching him how to fight. To conquer, to dominate, and to force every single enemy into submission. Subjugation is the true face of power. He swings the anvil that births thunder and decides he will start with those swamp mammoths. Now watch this. Mana shoots into the sky, possessing the mammoths as they start trampling everything while the monsters scream in terror. Why did their own allies suddenly turn on them? As an orc turns, Bandel strikes him down. He realizes the swamp mammoths are currently tearing the Crimson Light tribe apart. It looks like the prince and princess actually pulled it off. Now, it is time to finish them all. He orders a total wipeout with no survivors. On the cliff, Yakujan watches the mammoths go wild and asks, "What the hell? Why are they acting like this?" The orc beside him admits they have no idea who could possess this much mana. They need to pull back and wait for another shot. But Yakujan just screams out in rage. What? Suddenly, Chris lands right in front of them. He tells them it is over and promises a quick death if they surrender. Yakujan calls him an idiot. He swings his weapon, swearing to rip Chris apart. But Chris activates the Beast God's combat style and charges straight in. The orcs start panicking and scattering. The chieftain is dead. Lord Yakujan has been killed. We have to get out of here. Chris wipes blood from his knuckles and says he just needs to finish the rest. He thinks of Shutra and Felicia. Without them, they would have been cooked. He just hopes they are both safe right now. Meanwhile, Karak is watching the madness through a screen. He can't believe this is what the mammoths are actually seeing. Besia confirms it. With the anvil, controlling the treasure guardians is possible. Finally, the Crimson Light tribe is going to pay. She starts to whisper, "It will happen." But suddenly her body gives out. Caitlin barely catches her as she collapses. She screams in a panic, "Felicia, what is wrong with her?" Karak yells out in worry too. But she is told not to fret. Felicia just needs some rest to recover. Sarah agrees and suggests finding a safe spot immediately. Felicia looks around weakly and calls out for Shutra. Okay, let's take a breath with our main character. After the battle, the system alerts him that his level has skyrocketed. He stares at the screen. His level jumped a ton. Is this really because he took control of Enkidu's ancient relic? The system screen tells him that his conquest level has increased. The main character asks what this is, seeing that even his royal banner skill has evolved. He thinks, he does not fully understand this conquest level yet, but if his main skill is getting stronger, that is a huge win for him. He wonders if the King's Knight skill is a summoning type, right before a loud shout is heard from behind him. He turns to see Caitlin. The main character ruffles his hair and simply says, "Exactly." He starts to walk away without a word. Caitlin smacks him in the head and screams. Seriously, what was he thinking? Disappearing on her like that, Shutra. He apologizes, and Caitlin sighs. Fine, he is safe, but it is time for them to head back home. It looks like they are camping here tonight. Shutra is confused and asks if they aren't going straight back. Caitlin explains that was the plan until Felicia passed out. Shutra asks what happened and learns Felicia lost consciousness. They head back to the cave and she explains that Felicia just escaped captivity from the Crimson Light tribe, and she clearly pushed her limits way too far. Before she fainted, she said she just needs to rest, but they don't know when she'll wake up, and without her, they can't even summon their phantom mounts. So, they have to wait here and watch over her. Shutra agrees, but silently worries if Felicia will really be okay. Later, while everyone sleeps, the main character sits by a pillar, amazed that his stamina fully recovered just from leveling up. It is weird. He feels zero fatigue. Now he just has to wait for the sun to come up. He looks at the door as it hits him. These are ancient ruins they are standing in, right? That means there must be hidden weapons and treasures in this dungeon, along with plenty of traps and guards. Shutra looks at the hammer and realizes something. What if he is now the true lord of these ruins? And trust me, you and I are about to see how the power of the anvil becomes absolute within these ruins, giving Shutra complete and total control over this entire place. Let's jump in as Shutra wakes Karak for a secret midnight mission. Deep in the dungeon, Karak starts getting nervous. He asks if breaking in is really okay, or if something's about to go horribly wrong. Shutra just shrugs. As the lord here, why worry? These ruins are packed with high-tier loot, and he's not leaving without the good stuff. Karak's eyes go wide. Prince, look, he stammers, pointing at a massive beast looming in the darkness ahead of them. That's a guardian golem, Shutra explains calmly. Specifically, one shaped like a legendary griffin. Karak is stunned, but Shutra notes that most people would just mistake it for a terrifying, overpowered monster. One wrong move, and they'd be dead meat. Karak tells him to quit jinxing them and move before the thing actually wakes up. Looking at its massive size, Karak admits he'd rather not pick a fight. Shutra just laughs and calls him a total coward. I'm just being cautious. Karak fires back. But soon, his fear vanishes when they stumble upon a pile of treasure. He picks up a suit of armor, completely awestruck by the quality. Even Shutra has to admit it looks incredibly impressive. Shutra senses a faint pulse of mana radiating from the plates. It's magic armor, and he asks Karak if he wants it. Karak's eyes light up. Wait, for real? Shutra nods, though he jokes that the set is still a bit too big. Karak can't thank the prince enough. Meanwhile, Shutra picks up a strange coin. Could these be legendary ancient gold pieces? He starts stashing the loot into his inventory, telling Karak to grab every single valuable item they can find in the room. Shutra spots a chest, But as he approaches, a hidden door nearby suddenly creaks open. He stops in his tracks, wondering what's going on. A hidden chamber? He smiles, feeling certain that something truly special is tucked away inside that secret room. They step through the narrow corridor and emerge into a massive hall that completely dwarfs the rest of the ruins. A mysterious voice echoes through the hall. Shutra senses a strange mana he somehow recognizes, and a legendary name instantly flashes through his mind. Check this out, it's the Shaker, Enkidu's legendary gauntlet. A booming voice calls him a brave, conquering knight. The Shaker is literally calling out to him. Shutra steps forward, reaching out to claim the power of the ancient gauntlet. System alert. Level too low. Mana, psychic power, and strength? Not enough to equip the weapon. I can't wear it yet? Shutra asks. But then the gauntlet purges its dark mana as the voice declares, access allowed. A new message appears. The Shaker has officially recognized Shutra as its true master. Ownership shifts to Shutra immediately. As the gauntlet latches onto his hand, he lets out a sharp cry, wincing from the sudden shock. He opens his eyes, stunned. Did that ancient weapon really just choose him as its new owner? His strength, mana, and endurance all jump by 10 points instantly. Shutra is speechless. The stat boost from just putting it on is insane. Once he actually levels up, this thing is going to be unstoppable. It's way better than he ever imagined. You and I both know this looks suspicious, and Karak was watching the whole time. Shutra turns around, sweating. How long have you been there? I saw everything, Karak answers. That glove just appeared out of thin air. Shutra's heart sinks. If people find out about his secret inventory skill, things are going to get very dangerous, very fast. Karak gets it. If the world finds out about this power, it'll cause massive problems. Shutra gives him a long, questioning look, but Karak quickly promises to stay silent. This secret stays between them until the day he dies. With all the loot secured, Karak asks if they can finally leave. This place is starting to give him the major creeps. Yeah, let's get out of here, Shutra agrees. But as they pass the storage room, he suddenly lets out a loud shout. Wait, Karak, Shutra yells. Karak asks what now. Shutra points. Can't he see what's right there? Karak is confused, but Shutra has found exactly what they need. Later, he gives Felicia a potion, and she finally opens her eyes. Shutra smiles, asking if she's awake. She whispers his name as Caitlin gives a happy scream. Thank God. Felicia asks what happened, and Caitlin wipes away a stray tear before explaining how everything went down. Shutra gave her a mana restoration potion, leaving Felicia stunned. She asks where he got it, but he just grins. The ruins? She asks. Shutra reminds her that he's the ruler of this place. There was never anything to worry about. He tells her to rest, promising her mana will be fully back soon. Felicia thanks him, catching him slightly off guard. She shyly repeats her thanks. A bit later, Vandal's voice rings out. The team has finally made it back. He knew they'd succeed. Laughing, he praises their greatness. Chris clears his throat, and Shutra turns his attention toward him. Chris clears his throat again, telling Felicia she was impressive. She just shakes her head, acting like it was no big deal. Seeing them together is heartwarming, right? Chris tells them to rest while the team cleans up. Wait, what? Alright, you and I are back in the action as Chris warns that the Crimson Light Tribe will return soon. Shutra wonders if they finally get some rest, but Caitlin shuts that down. No breaks for our main character today. There is still work to do. She slugs him, shouting for Shutra to wake up before he actually ends up dead. She tells him to get up while he just lies there, gasping for air. He thought he was prepared, but this is brutal. Beast hand-to-hand training with Caitlin is basically a sanctioned beating. For 5 days, he is basically a punching bag. After a week, he finally starts seeing her movements. Then comes day 11. He closes the gap, and Caitlin realizes he is actually learning. Shutra just smiles. It is about damn time. All those bruises paid off. Thanks to this hardcore training, his beast aura and melee combat skills have jumped to level 5. Now pay attention, because he is finally ready to learn the legendary beast god hand-to-hand combat arts. He can't believe it. Truth is, Caitlin is actually pretty impressed with how fast he learns. She has never seen such a fast learner before. He grins, knowing he will finally master the lycanthrope's ultimate secret technique. Caitlin takes his hands in hers and speaks with serious eyes. She is going to show him a new path for his aura. She warns him to listen close and not miss anything. He nods, and as they lock hands, mana explodes between them. Shutra can feel her raw power surging through him. She is guiding him. It is melee combat, but on a whole different level. He feels the true depth of aura. Aura is pure life force. At its peak, it becomes the power of the soul, the power to conquer everything. To conquer and force submission, you need a ferocious, overwhelming power. Is this the true aura? Suddenly, his level spikes. His aura level climbs higher. Caitlin is stunned. The kid actually pulled off the impossible. The system confirms it. He has officially acquired the level 1 Beast God melee skill for himself. Shutra stares at his palm. Shaker and Beast God arts. He clenches his fist, letting the mana flow. He has reached level 14. He knows his journey has finally begun, but Bandel is watching him from the shadows. Morning comes, and he asks about Felicia. Caitlin wants to know what exactly is on his mind. He asks about the tension between her and Chris. He needs Felicia as an ally, but things seem way too strained. If they are at each other's throats like this, it is going to cause massive problems down the line. You and I know that family drama is the worst. Caitlin explains they aren't enemies, just incredibly distant. So what is it? She isn't sure, but it likely involves the history between Chris and Sylvan. Sylvan? Caitlin hushes him instantly. No need to shout that name around here. He quickly apologizes for the slip-up. He is just shocked. Felicia's twin, Sylvan Doomlade, was a massive thorn in his side back when he played Zephyr. Shutra realizes this confirms a serious conflict between Chris and the twin is brewing. Chris barges into the tent, announcing they have arrived. The group looks at him, startled. Caitlin asks why he is early. Everything moved faster than expected. Chris tells everyone to pack up because they are moving out right now. Shutra asks where, and Chris just stares. They are heading back to report that the mission is complete. Later, Bandel shakes his hand, praising the royals for the incredible job they have done on this difficult mission. He hopes to see them again soon. Shutra feels the same way. Meanwhile, Chris is already barking orders to move. He turns back with a nod. Chris declares it is time to return to the Demon King's castle. The Demon King waits in his hall. Getting back there is simple enough, but the journey won't be easy. First, they have to reach a teleportation circle capable of long-range jumps. Then, they will use transfer magic for the rest. It is a 3-day trek just to reach the nearest teleportation portal. No taverns and no beds, just more nights sleeping under the open sky. The Demon King's castle is waiting for them. Arriving tomorrow makes him a bit anxious. The castle is currently split between 3 powerhouse factions. First, there's the second prince, Zephyr Ragnaros, the king's second son and a true archenemy. Then there's the first prince, Bol, and the fourth princess, Anastasia. In this race for the throne, age means nothing. Only those with the most achievements and raw power get to sit at the top of the food chain. That is the hierarchy. Bol and Zephyr are half-brothers with power levels that are basically identical. You and I are going to see things get bloody as these Dragon Clan heirs clash for ultimate control. Alright, let's jump into the story of a prince flipping the script. The calm eldest son, Bol, seems like the safer choice for a successor. Shutra knows that choice doesn't actually matter. After today, everything is going to change, so he has to be prepared for any possibility. First, he needs to level up until he can fully master the Overseer and maximize his freshly gained strength. He whispers, King's Knights. Immediately, the system window flashes, reporting that the King's Knights skill has been officially activated. The knightly order is born. Shutra checks the skill description, surprised because he originally thought this was just another basic summoning skill. Instead, this feels like some kind of complex guild system. It has buffs, specialized training, and even summoning. This skill is broken. If it's this good at level 1, just imagine its peak power. Karak approaches him, shouting in total displeasure. Why aren't you sleeping yet, Prince? You need rest before we head out tomorrow morning. The orc practically orders him to get to bed immediately. Shutra just laughs. Karak, you showed up at the perfect time. He wants to run a little experiment on his loyal companion. Now watch this part, because his next move is genius. Karak is confused, but the prince points his sword at the orc, officially appointing him as his knight. Suddenly, Karak is covered in mana. He gasps in surprise. Prince, this is a strange feeling. I feel like my devotion has actually grown. The system identifies Karak as a level 24 knight commander and first-rank private. Shutra smiles, satisfied. Yes, this is exactly the power he was talking about. Karak is stunned. It is great that I have gotten stronger, but what is this power even supposed to be? Shutra puts a hand on his shoulder. Karak, don't you want to become the strongest orc in this entire world? Just you wait. I will raise you into the mightiest orc emperor in history. Someone who can trade blows even with the legendary dragon races. If his growth rate keeps up like this, then from now on Karak interrupts, looking puzzled. Prince, are you feeling okay? Eventually, they reach the teleporter where Chris is waiting. He asks if they are ready, and Shutra simply nods. They step onto the field and vanish. Shutra's eyes widen as they fly through space, and he barely catches his breath before they land. Caitlin asks if he is okay. He says he's fine, but a loud scream suddenly echoes through the area. It is Felicia. A crowd of elves rushes toward her, shouting that she is as beautiful as ever. They were all waiting for her arrival. She smiles back at her fans. Shutra mutters that this feels like some kind of idol fan club. He wonders if these are her personal servants. Meanwhile, the crowd turns to the others, cheering for Prince Chris and Lady Caitlin. Chris smiles, noting it has been a long time since they last saw everyone. He asks how they've been doing. Shutra laughs, noticing there isn't a single person cheering for him. The elves just look at him, completely confused by his presence. You and I can see the truth here. This moment reveals his actual, lowly position inside the Demon King's castle hierarchy. He sighs. It is fine, he expected this. He turns to Karek, asking if he is ready to start changing everything. A bit later, the prince enters his assigned room, only to find it covered in thick cobwebs and piles of trash. Karek suggests they can settle here for now. Shutra just shrugs, glad they at least found a room to stay in. Karek reminds him that official events don't start until tomorrow. Until then, they are free to do whatever they want. Shutra mutters that they've basically been left to rot. Suddenly, there is a knock, and a young girl walks into the room. She greets him formally. She is Flora from the 7th office of the Property Management Bureau within the castle. Shutra is confused. Why would an employee from the Property Bureau come all the way to a dump like this? Flora explains that his public service level has risen. He now has the official right to choose a brand new residence. Another girl named Isabella from the Public Service Department arrives to meet with His Highness as well. Shutra asks if he is really getting a new place. Isabella confirms it, telling him he has come to the right office. Thanks to his victory, the prince's merit has hit level 5. System windows flash before Shutra, the 9th prince of the Ignis family. His total accumulated merits now amount to 15,000. The screen shows the full details of his successful mission against the Crimson Light tribe. Isabella explains the rewards. Because of this achievement, His Highness now has access to many more facilities within the Demon King's castle. His monthly allowance just skyrocketed from 5 gold coins to 500. He is officially the first prince to ever pull off a result like this on a first mission. Shutra laughs. If that's the case, can she show him the available residences right away? Isabella agrees immediately. A while later, Karek's eyes nearly pop out of his head as they arrive at the new location. As they gaze at the massive castle, Flora approaches. Trust me, you and I are about to see things change forever. Stick with me, you and I are about to see a rejected prince finally take his throne. The system notification pops up. He just made Flora Sevensword his very own headmaid. She is a follower of Camille, the goddess of dreams and shadows. Karek asks what is happening, since she claimed to be from real estate. The main character explains he hired her using merit points, a special currency earned through his many achievements. He tells him not to worry about the details, but Karek thinks the prince is just talking nonsense again. The next morning, Karek stands there in a sharp suit, nervously addressing the prince. He keeps needing the bathroom from pure anxiety. The main character just tells him to go already, clearly disgusted. Caitlin walks into the room and can't help but gush over how amazing everyone looks. Felicia smiles, taking credit for the outfits, while Caitlin screams that Felicia is truly the best. She modestly claims all her hard work finally paid off, as Caitlin winks at Shutra, loving the brand new look. She tells him it suits him perfectly, and the main character graciously returns the compliment to them. Everyone is excited, but Chris wonders if this is actually the prince's very first royal audience. Shutra calls out to Chris, bumping fists while declaring that today, the prince is the real star. It's time to show the entire Demon King's castle that his success wasn't just some lucky break soon. Every single person will be watching him. The demons gather in the Great Hall as the main character and his siblings make their entrance. He knows they're about to see the worthless prince they once rejected in a whole new light. Chris Nelton announces the arrival of the 7th prince, Chris Moonlight, before the ruler of the demon realm. Mithra, the Demon King, watches intensely from his throne while the butler prepares to report on every single achievement. The main character gazes at Mithra, his father, and the absolute ruler he almost forgot to fear. Now watch this. The king's pressure is so heavy it feels like the main character might actually crumble. Just standing in front of the king, he feels like his entire body is about to break. Then he feels the girl's presence, a reminder that he is a king destined for conquest. He fights through the suffocating gaze and pressure, forcing his will to bend them as the power of conquest takes over. Shutra finally raises his head to meet Mithra's eyes. Mithra suddenly speaks directly to Shutra, sending a shockwave of surprise through the crowd. The king says he looks forward to his future, leaving the other demons whispering in total confusion. You and I both know this is huge. The king never calls anyone by name, let alone the forgotten 9th prince. The prince realizes those words only sounded casual. That one statement was priceless. Shutra bows, declaring he will do his absolute best to live up to His Majesty's expectations. With that, Shutra Ignis finishes his first audience, leaving a permanent mark on everyone in the room. Later that morning, a loud cry echoes through the mansion, waking the prince for some urgent news. Shutra wonders what is going on so early, but Karek shouts that a letter just arrived from public service. The main character is stunned to hear from that department, and Karek impatiently asks him to read it. Shutra stares at the page, not knowing how to feel. It turns out the Demon King himself gave him a personal mission. He has been ordered to head out and exterminate the dangerous Cautious monster herd before the year ends. Caitlin asks if he's really heading to the Anger Plains. The Anger Plains? Shutra realizes that is where the fierce centaurs live. Chris notes that this extermination is an annual event, but he can't help because of his own schedule. Caitlin isn't worried, insisting Shutra can handle it himself. Chris warns him that the entire world is watching now. Some people will try to get close, while others will be wary of his brand new power. The prince knows the risks. Even Zephyr mentioned how unusual it was to be named during the audience. Chris tells him to ask for help anytime. Shutra just smiles and thanks his brother for the support. Before leaving, he visits Felicia, who mentions she has prepared a special parting gift for his journey. She tells him he will need good legs for centaur territory, and gives him a powerful lizard mount for the trip. Shutra thanks Felicia for the thoughtful gift. She hands him a dark elf tear. Trust me, you and I need to see what's next. Stick with me, you're about to see Shutra receive a sacred relic that usually only drops from Felicia herself. Felicia explains that dark elves never forget a favor or a grudge. She gives him a quick hug, tells him to stay safe, and begs him to come back in one piece. Shutra just stares at her, totally embarrassed. Honestly, her sudden change in personality kind of freaks him out. He never expected Felicia to be this soft. But before he can even finish his sentence, she suddenly shoves him away and starts screaming about nothing at all. Shutra thinks she must have just realized how incredibly awkward that moment was. He waves goodbye, wishing her luck as they prepare to teleport. Felicia just gives a short nod as they vanish from the area. A moment later, they arrive at the Anger Plains. Karak asks if they've made it, and Shutra confirms they've reached their destination. A scout approaches them, greeting the ninth prince with respect. This is Karma, the ranger assigned to be their guide through this dangerous territory. Shutra greets her politely, but he can't help noticing her appearance. A human torso with the lower body of a beast, definitely a unique sight. Karma says the honor is all hers. Shutra realizes he's looking at a satyr. He suggests they move out right away. Karma notes it's a 2-day trek to the centaur settlement, and they'll need to move fast to make it. She asks if he's okay with making minimal stops along the way. Shutra agrees instantly. Karma then asks if any other soldiers will be joining them. He explains that since the mission was so sudden, it's just the two of them for now. Karma hopes the Centaur alliance will be enough. Pay attention here, this means a massive battle is coming. Shutra realizes that weapons will be the real issue here, especially if they're fighting from horseback. He starts thinking a spear might be his best bet. Suddenly, he stops. He hears something. Karma tells him to hang on while she goes ahead to scout the source of the noise. She sprints forward and freezes in shock. It's a herd of Keisha. She wonders how they managed to find them so quickly. The monsters chase down a terrified scout who's screaming for his life. Out of nowhere, Shutra blurs into motion and intercepts the lead Keisha. The centaur looks up in disbelief. Shutra just smirks, noting that the enemy decided to give them an early welcome to the plains. He's more than ready for a fight anyway. He triggers his gauntlet and commands his summoned creatures to tear into the pack of monsters. The scout asks if this is really the prince, just as the Keisha let out a blood-curdling roar. Shutra spots the leader of the pack. Karma rushes over, shouting to check if his highness is still unhurt. Karak yells at him for being so reckless, but Shutra just tells them to stay back and watch how he handles this. He leaps off the lizard's back and dives straight into the fray. It's time to test out the martial arts he's been training. The Keisha lunges, but Shutra counters with a devastating explosive fist. Everyone's jaws drop. The monster dies instantly from a single blow, sending the rest of the pack running away in total terror. You and I saw that, right? That concussion effect boosted his aura way more than he ever expected. Absolutely brutal. He smiles, realizing his power is finally reaching Caitlin's level. Karma is absolutely ecstatic over his performance. She praises him for taking off the monster's head in one strike. The centaur scout bows low, thanking the prince for saving his life. His name is Swiftwind, and he's the guide sent to lead them the rest of the way. He promises to lead them safely. Behind them, mana begins to bleed from the dead Keisha as the group starts to move out again. After some travel, they finally arrive at the settlement. 4 major tribes live here: Furious Wind, Rainstorm, Heavy Night, and Raging Flame. The Raging Flame tribe is by far the strongest, and they hold the most influence in the region. Their chieftain also serves as the supreme leader of all 4 tribes. He steps forward to welcome the royal party. He introduces himself as Chieftain Murderous Glare, the supreme leader of the Centaur tribes. Quite a name. Anyone who played the Night Saga game would recognize that name instantly. Meeting this guy was always a scripted event. But here's the catch, he's usually a villain. Karak notes his terrifying gaze, but Shutra introduces himself as the 9th prince. He asks the leader for an honest assessment of what's happening on the plains. Once inside the tent, Murderous Glare admits that things are looking pretty grim right now. The Keisha monsters moved south way earlier than they usually do. Scouts are currently out in force, trying to track the herd's movements and secure the borders. Some people think the monsters might have just gotten lost, but the leader isn't so sure. Shutra remembers that in the game, Murderous Glare was an NPC you could never actually recruit or form an alliance with. The leader plans to gather warriors from all 4 tribes in 3 days. Once united, they'll be strong enough to wipe the beasts out. So what do you and I take from this? Will Shutra change destiny and win him over? Let's see. Then he'll wait for something else. Murderous Glare asks, Ninth Prince, did you really crush Cassia's skull in 1 hit? Let's see if he's the real deal. The main character smirks and confirms it, thinking this beast could be a powerful ally. Shutra pushes his fist forward, offering to let the prince give a live demonstration whenever he's finally ready. He thinks of his siblings as Murderous Glare, nods, admitting he'll be waiting with total impatience for that show. They head outside, walking through the centaur camp where every single warrior is watching him with intense, narrow eyes. The whispers start. Is he the one who crushed that skull? Carrick asks if he's famous here now too. The main character laughs, claiming it's all because of his natural, innate charm and his undeniable virtue. Carrick tells him to save the talk and rest. Later, as His Highness snores, a strange glow fills the room. He wakes up to find his glove shining. His first thought? Am I having a concussion or something right now? He wonders how this got in his hand. A girl appears before him, saying, Ninth Prince Ignis. She needs his help, explaining she's a fragment of the Observer Dragon Ankle, known as the Green Wind. He asks in shock, Green Wind? She's a nature spirit worshipped by both centaurs and satyrs alike. According to the lore, it was her power that made the Plains of Anger bloom with beautiful life. Suddenly, they are on a massive field. Greenwind tells him this beautiful place is her true home. A fragment of her creator, Ankle, is hidden here. The protagonist repeats the name in pure shock. He realizes she's waiting. Observer Ankle, one of the 6 legendary ancient dragons from the old legends. Players could never actually meet these divine beings. He just got Shaker Enkidu, and now there is another? He stares at his glove, meeting the observer himself. This is way too many coincidences for one day. Now pay attention, because there is no time. Green Wind warns that a northern monster is closing in. He looks at her as she explains they want to steal the plains' greenery and devour her very spirit. She says only he can protect her home. He's worried about his low level, but she doesn't care. Since he already holds Enkidu's power, he shouldn't worry. She raises her hand, releasing a burst of pure energy. The fragment will grant him massive strength. But first, he must show this sacred sign to her children. He snaps back to his room as the green energy fades away, leaving him alone with his thoughts. He looks at the object in his hand. Murderous Glare shouts, What the hell are you saying so suddenly? Green Wind is in danger. The protagonist stands tall before him, ready to take command of the situation. He explains there is a temple to the northeast. If she is right, the Keisha will attack soon. There's no time. He needs to gather the troops because they are moving out right this second. Murderous Glare starts to doubt the bold claim, until he sees the item. It's Green Wind's divine relic. The chief asks, What should we do? Soon, everyone is on the field. Checking the map, the main character sees it, the Green Wind Temple. The building starts glowing. Without his mini-map, he'd never have found this place deep in the wilderness. A centaur shouts, Chief, over there! You and I both know something is wrong. How did the Keisha find her? Something is definitely off here. Murderous Glare sees the numbers. There are way more enemies than expected. Does the prince have a plan? He needs to draw power from that fragment inside the temple. There has to be a secret there. He says he is heading there and they must not let the enemy close. The chief understands completely. He calls out to Carrick and Karma to follow him. Karma shouts back, ready to serve His Highness. Murderous Glare raises his sword to the warriors, screaming that nobody gets near that sacred temple. Prepare for battle. Forward. In the next second, the warriors charge headlong into the heat of battle. Arrows fly as centaurs tear through every monster in their way. Karak yells for the prince to move. The prince responds with a firm, Right, I just need to get to the temple. Karak charges, vowing to clear the path no matter what. He swings his weapon, smashing several opponents at once. Karma lands heavy blows on the monsters too. The protagonist cheers them on. Well done. Stick with me, because next time gets wild. He's almost there, but then a weapon strikes. Stick with me. You and I are about to watch our main character get wrecked as a monster sends him flying with its club. Zephyr just sighs. Damn it. He really let his guard down there. Suddenly, Karak steps in. Axe ready. He yells out, asking the prince if he is all right after that brutal hit. Karak warns him to get up. It is way too early to start resting now. The monster charges, but Karak blocks the blow. Zephyr draws his blade, wondering what is next. He looks cold as ice. Energy surges through his weapon as he shouts, Under the royal banner, time for a counterattack. He boosts Karak's energy and lunges at the beast. He delivers a devastating slash, then follows up with a heavy head strike. The impact cracks the ground. Karak yells for the prince to head inside now. He sprints toward the temple and rushes inside. A second later, he hears Green Wind shouting for him to hurry. Green Wind explains that the Enkidu artifact will lead him forward. Watch closely. He spots a glow on his glove, realizing the energy is pulling him much deeper into the temple. He follows the trail to a massive tree whose branches start moving toward him. Suddenly, he notices an object hidden inside. Is that a dragon heart? The ultimate source of mana for any dragon. So this is the ankle fragment. Green Wind reveals the plains stayed peaceful for ages thanks to the ankle observer's magic. This temple is the heart of that magic, born from the fragment. If it is destroyed, the whole world will collapse. He must awaken the ancient magic. Zephyr can hardly believe it. Meanwhile, Sir Kalingus points his weapon forward and shouts for everyone to hold the line and defend the temple. Karak is busy in the thick of battle, while Karma does his best to keep up with the others. Green Wind begs the ninth prince to protect her children with this lost power. Zephyr places a hand on his heart and suddenly wakes in another realm. A massive dragon looms before him. The observer, Ankle, directs her energy toward him and tells him to take it. A pillar of green light erupts from the temple, leaving everyone in shock. Karak watches as sprouts burst from the earth, and the light grows brighter. Suddenly, ants swarm out from the earth, ready for a fight. They charge straight for Cassia and unleash a wave of attacks. Green Wind looks up. The ancient magic of Ankle has finally awakened. She looks at Zephyr with gratitude. The ninth prince saved them all. As he touches the dragon's heart, the green energy continues to spiral and spread through everything around him. I know what you're thinking. Is he actually trying to absorb it? Why is this power filling his body like this? Zephyr's eyes turn white. She flies closer and screams for him to stop this before it is too late. His body can't handle the power. Wounds form as the system reports that his level has increased. Suddenly, his wounds start to heal. She watches in shock as his wounds heal. His level increases several times, and then a mysterious voice echoes in his head. Conquer it, subjugate it, force it down. Even as a remnant of an ancient dragon, it must bow before him. Suddenly, energy pierces his heart as a brilliant flash of light explodes in every direction. The remaining power completely wraps around him. He finally opens his eyes. The system reports that he has officially obtained the level 1 passive skill, Dragon Body. He gains the Dragon Blood skill and the Respect level 2 skill. Plus, he is now granted level 1 immunity to every poison. He stares in surprise at the system windows, checks his stats, and wonders if he's really a dragon. He thinks of a being with dragon genes who can wield dragon magic, a true dragonborn. Despite his mixed heritage, Zephyr's recessive traits allowed him to fully awaken the dragon gene in his body. Green Wind confirms it. He now possesses a dragon's spirit and body. The observer's power is his, dormant for 1,000 years. Trust me, our journey just started. All right, you and I are about to see if this prince can actually handle the weight of a goddess's request. The war rages on as the ants fight desperately, until the monster leader swings his blade and cleaves one of them in half. He roars, sending enemies flying everywhere. High on the rooftop, our main character spots his target. So, that's the one leading the Cass. That's definitely him. He leaps from the ledge, sprinting toward his ally while calling out Karak's name. It's time for the real fight. Karak is stunned to see the prince here. Suddenly, a massive monster lets out a bone-chilling scream, but the prince shuts it up with a heavy gauntlet strike. But the beast recovers instantly, swinging a massive arm and throwing our hero aside. He skids back, noting that for such a small creature, the beast is surprisingly agile. Now watch this, our guy isn't just strong, he's fast. He dances around every single strike like it's nothing. Charging energy into his gauntlet, he decides it's time to see if this beast can actually handle a direct hit. He triggers Explosive Fist, but stares at his weapon in shock. How thick is this thing's skin? It barely left a scratch. The monster swings back immediately. He dodges, realizing that even his explosion skill didn't do much. This guy is tougher than he looks. This beast is a tank. Realizing standard attacks won't work, he starts focusing every ounce of energy in his body for something new. Dragon Blood. The system confirms it, the Dragonborn's unique skill has finally been activated. The Shatterer is waking up, releasing its true power. He's putting everything he has into this one final attack. His gauntlet glows with intense energy once again. Now, he says, it's finally his turn to go on the offensive. Enter Karak, the Night Summoner. He smashes through the barrier, charging straight for the massive monster with zero hesitation. He lands a heavy blow, making the beast howl in pain. The prince tells the monster to get ready. He kicks off the ground and leaps into the fray, declaring that everything is about to change. He unleashes the Shaker's secret art, the giant piston. Massive energy explodes everywhere. Everyone watches in awe as the giant beast crashes into the dirt. Just like that, the system confirms a massive level up. The Drake boss, Mustafa the Ogre, is dead. He has officially earned the legendary title of Ogre Drake Slayer. Checking his gauntlet, he realizes he's drained. Without that level up, he would have collapsed on the spot from aura exhaustion. He notes that controlling the weapon's ultimate requires insane precision, something he hasn't fully mastered quite yet. You and I both know there's always a secret move. And apparently, the giant piston is just the warm-up. Karak runs over, shouting that the enemies are scattering now that their big leader has finally bitten the dust. Killian charges, striking several enemies at once. He points his weapon forward, shouting for everyone to follow them so they don't return for another attack. Do not let a single one escape. Wipe them all out now. Soon, the field goes quiet. The centaurs erupt in cheers, celebrating a hard-won victory. Greenwind floats over to our hero, noting his good mood before asking what he needs. He tells her he has some serious questions. She agrees. Since he helped her, she will tell him everything. But first, she asks for her freedom. He's confused until she explains that by absorbing the mana, her life is now magically linked to him. He realizes the situation. Okay, he tells her. Just give him a minute to figure it out. She waits expectantly, but he just gives her an awkward smile and asks her how he is supposed to do that. She's stunned. Did he really just say that? She starts screaming about her temporary overlord being a total idiot. He's dead serious. He has no idea. Nobody ever taught him how to undo a soul link like this. She yells at him for acting so confident earlier. He tells her to relax while he tries to think of a solution. He asks about her current status. Placing a hand on her chest, she says she belongs to him and must obey. That's not what he meant. He asks if she's comfortable or if she feels any strange physical changes. She says her abilities and condition are exactly the same. But if she leaves, the anger planes will die. She is the literal embodiment of the life force breathed into these lands. Thinking it over, he suggests she stays here to protect the planes instead of following him on his journey. She looks at him, totally confused. He repeats that she doesn't have to go. Her heart sinks. Is he abandoning her? He tries to clarify, but she is not hearing it. She actually wants to go with him. Greenwind is torn. And just like that, he has got a powerful new ally. Trust me, their journey is just getting started. Wait, you and I have to see this. He just realized he made contact with a spirit. He asked, "Did you just say you are the literal embodiment of the great spell on the anger planes?" She confirmed it. So he wondered, could she create a replacement for herself? Surprised, she replied that while it would definitely take some time, it was actually possible. He smiled and said, "Great. That means you can come with me." She warned him that she would be weakened since her forces had to stay behind on the anger planes. He did not mind. "That is okay," he replied. Besides, making a contract with a high-ranking nature, spirit was a massive opportunity he could not pass up. He called her lord and said, "All right, time for some questions. How and when did Ankhil die?" Looking surprised, she explained that she was merely a fragment. As a nature spirit reborn, many of Ankhil's original memories were lost to time. One thing remained clear. 1,000 years ago, she was brutally killed. Now pay attention, because she does not know the killer, but she is certain it was not another dragon. He was stunned. Who could possibly kill an ancient dragon? We are talking about a creature with godlike power. Then she added, "My lord, please speak to me informally from now on." She felt awkward with her lord, using such formal language with her. He asked, "Fine. If I really have become Ankhil's successor, does that mean I am capable of containing the dragon's immense power?" She paused, thinking, then admitted it should not be possible, but for him, it just might be. He already held the powers of Ankhil, the Polarity Observer, and the great Enkidu who opposed her. If he can balance these two clashing forces, he might just unlock the powers of every other ancient dragon. Let us be real. You and I were both thinking, is this that legendary main character plot armor? He grinned and asked, "Okay, one last thing. Do you know anything about the nature of my power?" She explained her knowledge was incomplete since she lacked those memories. But then, she closed her eyes, and her entire body began to glow with a blinding light. Our hero squeezed his eyes shut, shouting, "What the hell is happening?" Greenwind's eyes snapped open. "Knight of Conquest, born under the destiny of kings, you must rule over all that exists. Strike with the king's authority, and the world shall be yours." A while later, the morning sun woke him up. He opened his eyes, staring at the tree ahead of him, trying to piece together what happened. He vividly remembered speaking to Greenwind. Suddenly, she fluttered over and asked, "Master, are you finally awake?" He sat up, calling her name. She explained that for some reason, Ankhil's lingering consciousness had manifested through her during the night. That was likely the reason he passed out so suddenly. He replayed the events in his head. The Night of Conquest. Ankhil clearly knew about his hidden power all along. Then Greenwind pointed at him, declaring that he was now her master for the rest of eternity. She had to reveal something she had kept quiet yesterday. Channeling her energy, a mystical map suddenly materialized right in front of him. She explained that deep in the north of the Anger Plains lies a relic of Ankhil. He gasped. "Relics?" She said it was like his shaker, a dragon-powered artifact. Inside that place lies the Shield of Life. Over 1,000 years ago, Ankhil gave that shield to the most courageous and noble centaur warrior in existence. This warrior led his people against northern enemies, claiming victory after victory without ever taking a single scratch. But he was not invincible. He did not sleep with his shield, and one night, a woman sent by his enemies stabbed him in his bed. Ankhil had personally gifted that shield to the warrior, and legend says that absolutely nobody else is capable of wielding or using it. His loyal followers eventually buried the Shield of Life alongside the warrior in a northern tomb. Centuries went by, and the centaurs renamed the legendary artifact after the warrior himself, the White Suri. That is the new name for the shield. He was stunned. Wait, the White Suri? He realized this was a legendary relic that only ever appeared in the Night Saga backstory. Trust me, even veteran players like him could not find this thing. It is the ultimate shield, powered by a dragon. Greenwind flew closer, asking if he knew the name. He ignored her, asking, "So, where exactly is this tomb?" She said it is at the northern edge of the Anger Plains, but first, she needs to craft her replacement. Placing a hand on her chest, she promised to start the process as soon as they finished talking. He asked how long it would take to create the double. She said with his help, it should only take about 2 days. All right, we are setting out in 2 days. It is a long trip north, but you and I know he can handle it. All right, you and I are about to watch a high-stakes hunt for the legendary White Suri. Back at the campsite, our main character devises a plan to head north, using the excuse of hunting down remaining Casius. But there is a catch. The Demon King's castle likely already sensed that protective spell triggered inside the temple. It won't be long before they send an elite specialist to scout those ruins. If word gets out today, they will be here within a week. He knows they need to leave before that happens. Suddenly, Blair approaches with his arms crossed and delivers some heavy news. "Prince, someone from the Demon King's castle is here." He stares back in total shock. "What? Are they here already?" As they step into the temple, Felicia walks up and asks why he looks so pale. She scoffs, telling him he looks like he's seen a ghost. He's stunned. What on earth is Felicia doing here? She shuts her eyes and cuts him off. "Enough talk. We have a guest to greet first." "A guest?" Right then, a girl named Daphne steps forward with a polite bow. She says it's an honor to meet the 9th prince. Now pay attention here. This girl is Daphne, a druid born of a dryad and one of the 3 sisters he must recruit. Felicia explains that Daphne is a top-tier druid who will be vital since they are dealing with the Anger Plains. Daphne smiles and says she is happy to join their team. The main character is stunned. He didn't expect her here, so he needs to make a perfect first impression. "Wait a second, Felicia. Weren't you supposed to be at the Jish Mountains studying that legendary thunder-generating anvil?" She tells him that was the plan, but he finished his mission way too fast. "Shutra, you are getting noticed." He looks at her, confused, as she continues with a heavy sigh. "Honestly, wiping out the Cassius is one thing, but doing it in 2 days? That usually takes 2 full weeks. It is unheard of. The whole castle is in shock. If anyone else had been sent, they probably would have hauled him in for questioning immediately." He realizes the situation. "So, is that why you came personally?" She blushes, looking away. It wasn't just that. She was curious about this temple's magic and why the monsters acted strange. The main character watches her and realizes that beneath her icy surface, she actually has a warm heart. He thanks her, but honestly, we're just getting started. "So, what's the plan?" "The plan?" He tells her he's heading north to scout for any remaining Casius monsters. Secretly, he is looking for the White Suri. Then, Blair steps up and insists on coming along as it's their duty. A tribe leader can't just sit this out. The main character awkwardly scratches his head and agrees to let them tag along. Then Felicia drops a bombshell. She is coming too. He stares at her in shock. "Wait, you too?" She claims she would rather find live monsters than study dead ones. He shrugs and says the more, the merrier. Inner monologue? Crap. Hunting those monsters was supposed to be a secret excuse for him to go solo. Carrick mutters that things just got a whole lot more complicated. A few days later, the monsters appear, and the battle begins. Carrick yells out that he knew it. They are completely surrounded by beasts. His instincts were dead on. The battle is in full swing now. Acacius opens its massive jaws right in front of the main character. He grits his teeth. "Where are these things from?" He spins around but takes a massive hit that deals some serious damage. "Didn't we kill all of these already?" Suddenly, winged monsters called gists swarm the sky, diving straight for him. This crowd is terrifying. He starts channeling energy through his body, shouting that they aren't the only ones who can fly. In a flash, he launches into the air, activating his level 1 wind blessing. His body feels weightless, moving at blinding speeds. Green Wind flies up to him in a panic. How is he using magic? He soars higher, aiming right for the beasts. He lands an explosive fist square in the monster's face, sending it flying. He grins, telling them to stop getting in his way. This thing has to die. As Green Wind realizes her true purpose, Daphne stands frozen in terror, her hands trembling against her chest. She turns and bolts as the gists descend upon her. Suddenly, Karak grabs her by the shoulder and charges forward with a massive battle cry. Felicia summons a magic crest, saying this is convenient. We're about to find out together. Alright, you and I are about to see just how brutal this battlefield can get. She tears through the monsters, leaving corpses everywhere. Felicia steps forward and asks Shutra if he sees it. That faint purple glow coming off their bodies. He is caught off guard. Wait, you are right. There is definitely something there. Hand on her hip, she explains it is likely curse magic. Shutra is stunned. Curses? She warns that this glow makes them stronger while draining their life force. Plus, it wipes out their emotions. It is a curse, all right. Someone is pulling their strings from the shadows. She looks him in the eye. Shutra is shocked. But we already killed their leader, so who is it this time? Karak tells the prince to wait. He notices that girl has been incredibly tense throughout this whole battle. Shutra realizes Daphne is way less experienced than the version he remembers. This is all new to her. Suddenly, she speaks up. She can actually sense the pure fear coming from the spirits. The farther north they go, the darker the aura gets. Green Wind flies over, confirming the ominous energy. Whatever entity is waiting for them up, there must be the source of that purple glow. Felicia tells Shutra they won't get answers unless they reach the northernmost point of this land. Murderous gaze crosses his arms. How about checking from the watchtower on the northern border first? Shutra only planned on a quick trip, but things are getting messy. Fine, let us head there. Now pay attention, because what they see from the top of this tower changes everything. Felicia is speechless. A massive army, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 strong. Only the undead could gather like this. Undead? Shutra asks. Yeah, and powerful ones, at least lich level. Suddenly, Daphne collapses straight to the floor. Felicia cries out while Karak rushes to her side. Hey, are you okay? What is wrong? She barely manages to nod. Felicia realizes that the ominous energy is hitting her directly. Since she is half spirit, it is overwhelming. If it is a high-ranking lich, they are outmatched. They need to move. But then Felicia freezes. Someone is heading straight for us. Okay, I know what you are thinking. Who else could possibly be out there? Shutra checks his system window. He sees multiple dots on the map. Karak points into the distance. Prince, look. Up in the sky. He is shocked. Massive fireballs are screaming through the air, locked onto the tower. Shutra grits his teeth and screams. Damn it, it is a trap. Everyone needs to evacuate the tower immediately. A second later, the projectiles smash into the stone. The tower crumbles as they scramble for safety. Karak shouts as they run, and Felicia summons a blast of wind to lift everyone into the air. They hit the ground hard. She looks at the protagonist. Are you all right? Yeah, I am fine. Deathglare approaches them, looking relieved. They only survived that explosion, thanks to the sixth princess. She brushes it off. There is no time for thanks when they are completely surrounded and outnumbered. They have to go. Shutra tries to speak, but it is too late. The enemy has them boxed in. She tells him to give her just 1 minute. She will find a way to break through. She starts charging her energy. Shutra draws his dagger. Fine, I will hold them off as long as I can. He pushes his mana toward his allies, activating his royal banner skill with a roar. Deathglare looks at his hands in awe. The centaur behind him feels a massive surge of power. Green Wind flies up to the protagonist. Lord, are you really going to fight them all? He nods. Right now, they have to trust Felicia. Energy starts swirling violently around her body. Shutra points forward and shouts, Prepare for battle, everyone. We are not backing down. They charge. It is absolute chaos as they tear through every monster blocking their path. Shutra lunges forward, using an explosive fist that sends undead flying in every direction. But then the skeleton glows purple. Shutra curses as it regenerates. This will go on forever. The undead keep charging. He grits his teeth, his mind racing for a solution. And trust me, we are about to find out if he can find that leader before it is too late. Alright, stick with me. You're about to see dark energy projectiles rain down as our hero realizes he's in deep trouble. Flashing purple bolts slam into the centaurs, leaving Karak screaming in total confusion about what is happening now. Everyone is down, and that massive beast just marches over their bodies. Shutra is hiding behind a wall, terrified the monster has actually spotted him. Wait for it, here is the leader. Just then, a killing intent flares up behind the monster, ready for a lethal strike. Suddenly, the beast spins and backhands him into the dirt, showing him exactly who is in charge here. That is when Karak steps up, swinging his weapon with everything he has got left in the tank. He lands a hit, but his hands are shaking. The monster counters instantly, slamming him into a stone wall before Shutra dives back in. He charges energy into his glove, feeling the rush of Green Wind's power. Honestly, he is just glad he made it in time. Bonehead, it is game over. He throws an explosive punch, but the monster does not even flinch, it just swats him down. Shutra clutches his chest, wondering what kind of freak this thing is. He is too strong. These guys cannot handle him. Felicia steps in and tells him, that is enough, Shutra can rest now. The beast looks at her in surprise as our hero calls out her name. She summons a ring of magical symbols, declaring that she will be taking over the entire fight from here on out. It is coming, Bonehead. Energy pulses from her palms before she triggers a massive explosion right in its face. Valkyroba lets out a roar and tries to swat her away, but Felicia flips through the air, blasting the beast with wind control. The monster reaches out, but she just says, snap. She charges a massive orb of energy and fires it at Valkyroba's vital points. Watching her go off, Shutra realizes she is way more powerful than he imagined. It is insane. She is taking this titan down all by herself. Benny looks over and sees Daphne glowing with pure energy. She approaches, asking if His Majesty is all right, leaving him totally stunned. She unleashes the Dryad's blessing, sending waves of healing energy toward all their fallen allies lying on the ground. You and I can feel the hype building as everyone starts standing up. Shutra recognizes that unique Dryad aura immediately. Daphne is finally stepping up to the plate. Just then, a system window pops up. He has just acquired a level 1 enhancement skill. Flashes of raw energy begin surging through his entire body. He is confused by the sudden power-up, but the system is not done. It alerts him that he has gained the level 1 Spirit Rescue skill. The power of the spirit now lives within him, boosting every single one of his abilities. He looks at his hands, feeling his whole body boiling with this newfound strength. In the world of Night Saga, you are only supposed to have one spirit, but now he has got life and wind. He just grins, figuring that is a protagonist perk. Meanwhile, Felicia is still bringing the heat, raining fiery blasts down on the monster. She dodges a massive swipe, charging her next spell while calling the beast an idiot that needs to die right now. But her eyes widen in shock when she sees the monster's hand closing in on her. Carrick roars and swings his blade, catching the monster's attention just as the main character joins in to back Felicia up. She looks at him in shock, but Shutra just gathers energy in his palm and tells her to leave the finishing blow to him. He slams an explosive fist into the creature, finally sending the massive beast crashing to the turf. Carrick laughs, shouting that they are actually winning. Shutra just looks at him, wondering who exactly he means by they. His fist did the work. He laughs and charges forward, yelling that he is going to be the one to take its head. But a second later, he freezes as a strange energy starts leaking out of the beast. A massive pulse of dark power erupts from the monster, slamming into Carrick. Shutra screams for him, trying to shield himself as the darkness starts flying everywhere. A glob of that nasty energy hits him square in the face, knocking him flat. Felicia panics, her voice trembling as she calls out to Shutra, terrified of what just happened. At that exact moment, the monster stands back up. Deep in the woods, Greenwind is moving. She reaches her destination, realizing she has finally found it, the ancient warrior's grave. The monster turns its back, and Felicia, summoning more magic, asks how it dares to look away from its true opponent. She is the enemy here. She focuses all her symbols into one spot and unleashes a devastating triple blast. The energy misses completely, because the monster suddenly teleports right behind her. Trust me, you and I are about to see if her barrier holds against Valkyroba's lethal strike. Talk about a cliffhanger. Let's dive into the action as the monster strikes relentlessly while the undead swarm to surround a desperate Felicia. Meanwhile, our main character lies unconscious until a voice echoes inside his head, telling him he needs to wake up now. He is shocked as Greenwind flies up, telling him he must quickly awaken the dormant power of the ankle. Confused, he asks how he is supposed to do that, so she tells him to remember her previous master. Seeing a dragon heart right in front of her, the main character realizes the answer and whispers dragon blood. A sudden flash of green energy erupts forward, and a fleeing Felicia watches in shock as the blast obliterates the undead. Propping himself up on his hands, our hero looks ahead with wide eyes as the power starts to settle around him. He spots the shield and realizes it is the White Suri. Just as Greenwind flies back to check on him, she explains she had been hunting for the White Suri's grave since the fight started, knowing they would need its strength. Leaving him alone was dangerous, but she managed to track down the White Suri and get it to acknowledge its new master. He smiles and tries to thank her, but she cuts him off, saying there will be plenty of time for praise later. For now, they have a massive, bone-crushing creature to take down together. The massive beast swings its arm for a killing blow, but our hero jumps aside and demands the monster stop its attack. Seeing energy building in the monster's mouth, he thrusts his hand forward and shouts, wondering why it is moving so fast. Then a beam of energy hits him directly, and Felicia calls out to him in alarm as she watches the blast. Smoke scatters in all directions, but our hero remains standing in place, holding his powerful shield firmly in front of him. He looks around in surprise, realizing the power he's holding is pure energy. Greenwind explains that the fragment of ankle has transformed his physical body into that of a dragonborn, granting him new power. Pay attention. because we are about to see 5,000 years of Ankill magic stored inside this legendary white Suri shield. He admits this whole situation is complete madness, but honestly, it is in the best way possible. Focusing his energy, he calls the monster a bonehead and warns him that this time, he is going to completely destroy him. The main character takes a final look at his shield, ready to see what this legendary treasure can really do. He launches the shield, watching it shred through several monsters at once while a stunned Felicia can only curse in disbelief. The beast bellows and swings its weapon, but then massive wings suddenly sprout from the sides of the protagonist's flying shield. Charging his glove with energy, he flies toward the monster and asks it exactly where it thinks it is looking. He delivers an explosive punch straight to the skull, even as the monster tries to counter with a barrage of fire. Our hero easily dodges every flame, keeping a tight grip on his powerful new shield. He flings the shield back at the monster's head, and it begins to strike the creature over and over again. He concentrates his energy for a giant piston attack, causing the monster to scream as power starts bursting from its body. Reaching out his hand, he declares that this next move is going to be the final one. He snaps his fingers, and a brilliant pillar of green energy rains from the sky, piercing through the monster's skull. An explosion rocks the area as the system confirms the Skeleton King is dead and the main character's level has increased. You saw that too, right? Our guy just absolutely humiliated a boss monster that thought it was so high and mighty. Then the system officially rewards him with the title of Level 1 King Slayer. Felicia rushes over to Shutra, announcing that the curse is finally lifted and they should escape while the remaining monsters are distracted. He agrees, and soon the whole party is gathered safely around a warm campfire to catch their breath. Felicia stares at the shield and asks if this legendary weapon is really the famous White Suri. Murtis says it's incredible that the legend of the White Suri is true, while Karak enjoys his meal and Daphne senses a powerful life force. She believes the shield hasn't even revealed its full power yet, which is a scary thought. He wonders if the White Suri is holding back to match his current level, just like his other legendary gear. He gets excited thinking about his potential growth, as Felicia crosses her arms with a knowing smile. She promises not to report this to the Demon King's castle, so the shield is officially his to protect. Murtis gives him a sharp look and calls him the Ninth Prince. He declares that from today, they recognize him as the true successor to the White Suri and will join him whenever necessary. He agrees, thinking it is excellent. Trust me, you and I just witnessed a legend. Alright, you and I are diving back in as everything finally settles down, but don't forget, it's time for some serious loot farming at the warrior's grave. After a bit, he checks the blade in his hand. This should be the final one for now. Suddenly, Greenwind shouts that they aren't finished. He realizes he forgot to praise her and looks over awkwardly. She's totally offended. How could he just forget? He can only offer an awkward laugh and a quick apology. He gives her a gentle head pat and tells her she did great. Her help was the key to their victory. He really means it. She says she'll forgive him this once, but only if he keeps the compliments coming. She leans into his hand while he keeps stroking her hair, telling her she truly did an amazing job. You're the best, Greenwind. And just like that, the chaos in the northern region finally comes to a close. Now, pay attention here, because even with the battle over, a dark mystery still lingers. What was the real deal with that purple death energy? Plus, how did he even uncover the secret of the small shrine? Nothing is certain yet, but one day he'll uncover the truth behind that purple death energy. After returning home, everyone gets slammed with work and time just starts flying by. Killing Gaze is already preparing his tribal warriors to march back toward the north. Finally, the mission to wipe out the Cassia herd begins. It takes about 15 days of traveling north to finish the job. A bit later, Felicia looks at him with a thoughtful expression. She asks Shutra if he's grown stronger again. He just smiles, noting he is still growing, then asks about her temple exploration. She says it went well and that she made some pretty incredible discoveries. Turns out, the magic on the temple belongs to Uncle, one of the 6 ancient dragons. Shutra is genuinely stunned. She notices his strange look and wonders if he already knew. He claims he's hearing about this for the very first time. Greenwind chimes in, saying her master is acting weird. He just brushes it off so they can move on to the reports. Sometime later, at the Demon King's castle, the girls rush forward to welcome the 6th princess, Lady Felicia. She crosses her arms and asks how everyone has been doing while she was away. They say everything is fine and ask if she's eaten. Karak notes that this place hasn't changed a bit. Shutra agrees. I know what you're thinking, returning home after a long war always hits a little different, doesn't it? He sighs, realizing that while the world stayed the same, they're the ones who changed. She begs him not to say that, while Karak asks if they've done something to offend the prince. He looks over in surprise as Karak wonders why the girls are staring at them so strangely. He wonders if these are Anastasia's people. She is the 4th princess and leader of a major faction. During the massacre, Anastasia's group was by far the largest faction around. Even Felicia and her twin were part of it. The news of the Anger Plains must have already reached Anastasia's ears. This is something he'll just have to get used to from now on. He warns Carrack that they're going to be under even more scrutiny moving forward. Later, Isabel from the Public Service Department informs him his merit level has finally hit 10. His allowance jumps to 900 gold, and he gets way more access to the castle's exclusive facilities. The treasury is finally open to him. He just laughs, happy to finally have some real spending power. It's been a while since he could blow some cash. At the armory, Igor explains the merit level rules. Usually weapons cost points, but for him, gold will do just fine. He tells the prince there's no need to rush his selection. Inside, he tells Carrack to pick out whatever he needs. Carrack can't even believe his ears. Better gear makes him more useful. Carrack rushes off to look, shouting for the prince to wait up for a second. Our hero knows you can't be cheap when it comes to equipment. He spots something that actually looks decent. This piece has solid resistance against every single elemental attack. Best of all, it's light enough that it won't mess with his beast god melee arts. Armor under the clothes? Perfect. Now for the final piece. The blacksmith, Kador, asks if he's the one. Since the beast god's melee style uses a lot of legwork, standard defensive armor would just get in his way. So, how long will this custom set take to build? He says 2 days. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see this new gear in action next time. Alright, stick with me as the protagonist asks for recommendations. The blacksmith suggests dragon skin and scales, leaving him completely shocked. Dragon skin and scales? Was he for real? Where on earth could he find materials that legendary and rare? The blacksmith then reveals that, by some miracle, those exact materials arrived today in the prince's name. He was ready to start. The main character is stunned. Wait, what does he mean they arrived in his name? He asks, but nobody knows. It turns out Lord Ishugard personally ordered that the dragon materials be delivered to him. Remember, Ishugard is the greatest swordsman in the Demonlands and a true swordmaster. He is the elder of the powerful Asura race and a legendary warrior who once trained the demon Kamitra himself in swordsmanship. Later, Carrack asks why such a legend is helping them, but the protagonist can only reply, "How should I know?" He is surprised. If the Sword Lord actually becomes his supporter, that would be a massive boost, he admits to himself. That would be incredible, but he wonders why. In the Night Saga, the Asuras never supported anyone. Could he be reacting because the Demon King showed interest? Suddenly, a man rushes over shouting about some major breaking news for the Ninth Prince. The protagonist looks at him and asks, "What's the rush? What happened?" There is an audit tomorrow morning to celebrate his remarkable achievements on the Anger Plains. It's time for the official ceremony. 3 participants will be thanked at this audience. The protagonist is confused. 3 people? Now watch this. The second prince, Zephyr, has finally returned, and Shutra is absolutely terrified. This was the prince destined to kill everyone, including him. He never expected to face him this early on. Later at the palace, he is visibly depressed. Carrack asks if he is okay, since he has been acting strange. He just sighs heavily in response, staring down at his hands as they tremble with fear. He knew this meeting was inevitable, but he never imagined that the pure dread would be this overwhelming. Carrack turns to another servant to ask if the second prince is coming today. The man answers that His Highness Zephyr is going straight in without even stopping in the waiting area. Felicia enters and explains that while Zephyr is special in many ways, his military achievements are actually quite considerable. He looks up at her, and she tells him not to lose heart now. He needs to show everyone what he can do. Soon, the audience ceremony begins. Felicia and Shutra enter the massive hall as a servant solemnly announces their royal presence. As the main character walks, he wonders how he will cope with the future if he is already this nervous. Anastasia watches him from above. He kneels before the king and mentally encourages himself. He has to get over this massive hurdle today. Isabella then announces the next arrival. The second prince, Zephyr Ragnaros, finally enters the room. Shutra and his sister glance over, and you and I are finally seeing the real main character of the game's Demonlands arc. It's Zephyr. The prince walks to the center of the throne room as Isabella prepares to review the accomplishments of the royal siblings. When it comes to the second prince, his success on this mission was legendary. As expected, Zephyr's accomplishments are massive. His merits alone are more than enough to justify this audience. Next, Felicia and Shutra's achievements are finally announced. The situation at the northern border grabs everyone's attention, but the real main event today isn't about their achievements. The Demon King gives Shutra a specific task that leaves the entire room stunned. This is completely unprecedented. He is personally giving him an order right during the official ceremony. The main character is confused. His task is to investigate Grandbane Fortress in the Dwarven Kingdom. A path to Thunderbane Fortress was discovered during mining. He must now fortify that passage and explore the interior of the fortress. Isabella explains all the specific details of the mission. He is scheduled to leave within 7 days. Luckily, he knows Thunderbane Fortress well. In the Night Saga game, it was a vital stronghold for the Dwarven Kingdom. Isabella explains that the task was originally for the 27th Exploration Squad under General Kashubal, but he died during the mission, causing it to end in total failure. According to reports, the cause was poison gas. Now, he must find countermeasures and finally secure the Thunderbane fortress once and for all. Shutra sighs heavily and wonders what is actually happening. Kashubal was a general of dragon descent, yet they are giving him a mission that even a veteran couldn't handle. Why not entrust this to Zephyr, who is a dragon on his mother's side? Later, he meets his sister, and she agrees that something is clearly very wrong, and that's where we leave it. Shutra can't understand the logic, and his sister explains that Zephyr would normally take full responsibility for a dangerous mission like this one. Alright, you and I are about to see if he can handle this impossible mission. Felicia notes that going on a mission like this alone is just way too dangerous. He thought so too, didn't he? He is so confused he can't even find the words. That's when she shyly declares she's joining the mission. She's got a busy schedule, but if that's what he wants, she'll make the time. Karak notes the prince hasn't even agreed yet, and she immediately tells him to shut up. The main character just smiles and thanks her. Then Katarov approaches the group. He tells the prince he wants to accompany him on this journey. He hopes his request isn't seen as rude. Is his help acceptable? Felicia gasps his name in shock, but Shutra firmly states the mission roster is already set in stone. Katarov awkwardly backs away and apologizes for the intrusion. Felicia turns to her brother, demanding to know why he rejected him. He's a powerful siren mage. Wouldn't his skills be perfect for a dangerous mission like this? Now pay attention, because here is a dark secret our main character is keeping from everyone else in the party. This guy isn't just a mage, he's a fanatic spy working directly for Anastasia. Right on cue, Katarov teleports away to report everything back to the fourth princess immediately. The main character realizes they're getting extremely desperate if they're sending spies this early. Anastasia listens to the report, noting that the prince is being much more cautious than she expected. After moving inside the house, Felicia asks Shutra what he actually knows about the legendary Thunderbane fortress. He tells her he knows about the fierce dwarves who fought dragons there. Karak wonders if they were guardians of Enkidu's treasure. The princess explains there were once many dwarven states. Thunderbane belonged to a supreme kingdom that fought dragons to protect its massive wealth. This was a kingdom of legends. They even managed to slay several real dragons. But remember, true dragons and elder dragons are completely different species. Karak is impressed. He wonders if she could take down a dragon too. She looks away, admitting that with enough time and resources, she could maybe do it. But Karak realizes that really means she can't. She snaps at him immediately, pointing her finger in pure indignation. Does he think dragons are just common monsters? Even that high dwarven kingdom eventually fell in the war against them. The orc laughs and realizes she knows quite a lot. Of course she does. It's her specialty. Thunderbane Fortress is legendary in dwarven research. It's the goal for any relic hunter. If they do this right, they'll hit the jackpot. She's so excited that Karak notices she's already drooling with anticipation. You and I both know a jackpot is coming, but let's see why. In the game, Thunderbane is a famous honey dungeon. Because of the ancient battles, parts of the fortress collapsed, leaving high-quality weapons and treasures buried and untouched. Additionally, the fortress hides a weapon he desperately needs, a blade forged specifically for killing dragons. The Dragon Slayer sword, built to destroy those with draconic blood. He needs that blade to stand a chance against Zephyr. Possession of this sword is non-negotiable. They set off immediately. Standing at the entrance, Shutra dons his new dragon-scale armor and asks the squad if they're ready to go. They look confident. He puts on his respirator and leads them into a long tunnel, which is completely swallowed by a thick fog. Karak gets worried as the fog thickens. Felicia quickly corrects him, noting it's not actually fog at all. It's poisonous gas from the mines, and it's much worse than she feared. Since there's no time limit, she suggests moving slowly. The main character agrees, but Karak notices something weird. Since when is fog bright yellow? Shutra looks back in surprise, but the orc is already coughing. He falls unconscious alongside another member of their squad. The main character panics. This wasn't supposed to happen. As the gas surrounds them, Felicia curses. The poison is changing types. She quickly casts a wind spell to disperse the lethal clouds. It doesn't work. A new, stronger wave of toxic fog gushes straight at them. Shutra tries calling out to the princess, but his vision fades. They all go down. The monsters living here were just waiting for them to collapse. They move freely through the gas, completely resistant to its effects. Trust me, we're about to see him face the same beast that killed the general. Alright, stick with me because you and I are about to see a total monster massacre as a flying shield suddenly shreds everything in sight. Greenwind tells Shutter to hurry. His little fainting act was actually quite convincing. He tells her to hold on before clearing the tunnel himself. With his shield, he wipes the floor with the monsters, realizing these idiots are using some seriously heavy-duty poison. He almost got caught off guard, but luckily, he has a natural resistance to all level 1 toxins. The moment he pulls off his mask, the entire tunnel starts caving in. He scans the area, desperately trying to figure out his next move. A system window pops up right in his face, making him grumble about how the universe's jokes never end. He immediately orders Green Wind to keep the rest of the squad safe no matter what. She acknowledges the order, but he is still totally in the dark about what is happening here. First priority? Getting the hell out. Tapping into his dragon blood, he tosses 2 teammates over his shoulders and sprints forward, following the map like a madman. He spots the entrance to Thunderbane Fortress and circles back to the others as Green Wind screams for him to hurry. Things are going sideways. He grabs the 2 girls, leaving only Karak behind in the tunnel for now since he is maxed out. He tells the orc to hold tight, and then charges straight for the fortress entrance. Now pay attention, because just when he thinks everyone is safe and goes back for Karak, a massive roar shakes the walls. The entrance collapses, cutting him off from the orc. He tries to dive back in, but Green Wind blocks his path, telling him he needs to stay calm. Wait, didn't he use a specific spell back on the Anger Plains? Suddenly, a plan starts to form. He triggers Night Summoning, tearing a rift open above his head. Seconds later, an orc's head pokes through before the rest of him tumbles out onto the cold floor. He rushes over, worried for him. After a quick check, he finally breathes. No major injuries. The guy is actually going to be okay. With the team reunited, he can finally stop to think. Who exactly are these strange guys attacking them? He has never seen creatures like this in the entire history of the game. As the girls slowly wake up, he realizes he needs to handle the most urgent problem first. He has to get that poison out of their systems before their time completely runs out. Okay, I know what you were thinking, but things just got worse as a mob of monsters surrounds him and attacks from behind. He uses an explosive fist to blast the creature away. Seeing their buddy get deleted, the rest of the monsters start hesitating. Shutra raises his shield, mocking the monsters and calling them all complete idiots. The monsters growl back, but he furiously barks at them to shut their filthy mouths and just attack all at once. He is out of time. Charging his fist with raw power, he slams it into the ground, sending out a massive shockwave. Then Green Wind joins the fray, ghosting through the enemy lines and literally carving the monsters into pieces. But they just keep coming. He lets out a roar, preparing another devastating strike. Felicia finally wakes up after being healed by Shutra. She looks around, confused, and asks what the hell just happened. He just smiles and tells her to relax. It was nothing he couldn't handle. Once they are all cured, they launch a full-scale raid on the fortress, aiming straight for the main command center. But to get there, they have to choose between 2 very different paths ahead. One way is long but safe, while the other is a shortcut filled with deadly traps. Felicia asks for the plan, and he checks the map, thinking the long way is better if they want to stay alive. Suddenly, a loud beeping rings out. He warns them not to relax yet as Karak looks around, terrified of the noise. The girl explains it is an attack signal, and Shutra realizes someone else must be raiding these dungeons right now. Felicia is baffled, but he just tells Karak to get over here, raise his shield, and lead the way. The orc is shocked he's being trusted with this, but our hero just smiles and tells him to relax. As long as he follows every instruction perfectly, he will make it out in one piece. The security system kicks in, and a stone dragon head starts blasting fire down the hallway, forcing them to hide behind their shields. From there, it is a gauntlet of floor spikes and arrows shooting out from every single wall. Too many traps here, and since Karak is leading, he is getting exhausted. The rest of them just follow along, cheerfully thanking him while he groans about almost dying back there. They finally reach the massive doors of the command center, and though Shutra credits their incredible speed, Mimi immediately notices something is very wrong. The guards are gone. We're about to see things get even crazier. All right, you and I are diving into the heart of the Thunderdome Fortress. Shutra suggests they head inside, where they find a massive hall and a lonely skeleton. Seeing the remains, Shutra calls for Felicia, who realizes this must be the final commander of the Thunderdome Fortress. He was likely left behind to manage the keep while the other dwarves evacuated. Mimi points toward a massive sphere in the center of the room, claiming there is something very strange about it. She examines it with a look of confusion, wondering if the dwarves built it. It seems like a specific item is required to activate the device. Shutra inspects the skeletal body and finds exactly what they need, some kind of key. Now watch this. As Felicia brings the key close to the sphere, a sudden reaction begins to hum through the air. A splash of light erupts at the contact point. Sparks cover the sphere as it begins to glow brilliantly. Suddenly, dozens of screens flicker to life, showing every corner of the massive fortress. Shutra looks on in shock, while Felicia admits she is constantly amazed by the depth of dwarven technology. How advanced were these people? Suddenly, a strange sound echoes through the hall. Karak stays on guard while Daphne points to one of the monitors. It looks like a massive battle is breaking out just a few rooms away. Vicious monsters are clashing with gargoyles, and Felicia asks Shutra if these are the same creatures he fought earlier. Carrack notes the sheer size of the enemy army, while the main character wonders what their true goal is. You and I saw that coming, right? Carrack spots a massive silhouette. It is a dragon, and it is absolutely enormous. In the Grand Hall lies the corpse of a dragon with a spear buried in its chest. Shutra realizes they have finally found it. This is the legendary masterpiece of the Dragon Slayer series, the Spear of Ascalon. The black dragon Pazon is as greedy as he is massive. He was the primary aggressor in the brutal war against the ancient dwarven kingdom. Pazon and his legion launched a relentless assault on Thunderbane Keep, eventually tearing through the outer defensive walls. Once inside the keep, Pazon led the charge, unleashing his terrifying, unchecked power. But that was a fatal mistake, a moment born entirely from his own boundless arrogance. Spark, the keep's strongest warrior, seized the opening and drove the Dragon Slayer spear deep into Pazon's chest. When Pazon died, his legion went berserk, forcing the dwarves to abandon their home and flee. Now, Thunderbane Keep serves as a massive tomb for both the dragon and the dwarves. Carrack asks if that dragon is really Pazon, with Ascalon still protruding from his heart. Shutra confirms it. Felicia notices more movement on the screens, realizing those idiots are likely trying to claim Ascalon for themselves right now. They dared to attack first, and now they think they can just walk away with the prize. She will never let that happen. Shutra asks if there is any way to take down that gargoyle guard. She explains that as annoying as it is, they are helpless for now. The gargoyle is currently the one in total control. They sneak into the hall and hide, watching the battle unfold. Felicia notes that the fortress lord likely transferred all authority to that golem before he passed away. It was likely because it was a high-ranking guard. Maybe they should wait and see. They came for Ascalon, but the current situation is far from ideal. Shutra disagrees, seeing this as their perfect chance. She is confused, but he explains that there are too many variables to just sit around doing nothing. He rushes out of hiding, telling them to stay put and promising that he will be back very soon. He sprints past the gargoyles and checks his map. If he grabs Ascalon first, they will hold the advantage regardless of the battle's outcome. If the Dungeon Guardians win the fight, Shutra and his team won't even have to lift a finger. They can simply hunt down the survivors of those black-robed idiots. But if the enemies win, they can assess the damage and decide to fight or flee. He checks the map one last time. He is almost there, and Pazon's body looms ahead, but he fails to notice the golem descending from above. The guard swings its massive hammer, narrowly missing him. Shutra takes off at a sprint, with the giant golem in hot pursuit. He turns back excitedly, shouting that he doesn't want to fight, but the golem clearly is not listening. It strikes again with crushing force. Thinking it landed a direct hit, the golem stops, only to find the target has completely vanished. Suddenly, green wind zips past its head, and Shutra comes gliding through the air, riding on a shield. He calls her Green Wind and says she is just in time, but she angrily tells him not to shorten her name. He claims that nicknames are in fashion now, but she shouts that she does not care about trends as they head for the spear. The main character stands atop the dragon's massive scales and approaches the spear. It looks even more incredible in person. He grabs the spear to make a break for it, but it is stuck. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how he pulls this out. Alright, you and I are diving in. Shutra grits his teeth, dumping every last point into strength. He lets out a roar, straining to rip the spear free. The weapon erupts in a blinding glow, and the golem instantly locks eyes on him. With one final, desperate tug, Shutra finally pulls the legendary spear from its resting place. A massive pillar of light pierces the sky, freezing everyone in their tracks, including a mysterious hooded figure. Shutra now holds Ascalon, a masterpiece from the Dragon Slayer series. This is the same giant spear that once drove through the heart of the terrifying black dragon, Pazon. It is a weapon forged from the pure resentment, determination, and fury of every dwarf in Thunderbane Fortress. Shutra smiles, thinking his job is done, but the dragon suddenly jerks back to life. That hooded man is a necromancer who just revived the beast. Pazon's eyes flare with malice as he lets out a bone-chilling roar, sending everyone nearby into a panicked frenzy. Shutra is sweating now, shouting that this is impossible. How could a dragon that died hundreds of years ago be standing here? He spots the necromancer and wonders who the hell this guy is. Then, the ground shatters as Pazon takes to the sky. Now watch closely, because things are about to get deadly. The dragon starts charging energy, the dreaded purple death. Blasts of energy tear across the room, shredding the gargoyles into nothing but dust and shattered stone. One beam nearly takes Shutra out, but Green Wind pulls him back. He looks around, wondering what is going on here. Why is that purple death energy radiating from Pazon? He glances back to check the situation, and suddenly a golem is right in his face. Fortunately, the giant machine is not looking for him. It is aiming its attack straight for Pazon instead. The golem charges the dragon, slamming its massive hammer down while Shutra watches the chaos in total disbelief. He wonders why these two are fighting each other as he regroups. Felicia runs up, frantic, asking what happened back there. She asks if the dragon should be dead, and he tells her a necromancer used dark magic to bring it back. She is shocked, wondering who would pull such a stunt, but Shutra has no answers, only a feeling of a massive conspiracy. He realizes the purple death energy is the exact same power they faced back on the plains of anger. He snaps at everyone, saying they do not have time to stand around and mess with this. They need to kill it now while its form is still incomplete. Felicia hesitates, sensing the dragon's mana is wildly unstable. Shutra explains that as a zombie dragon, it must have a core controlling its mana flow. Destroy the core, kill the beast. Suddenly, the dragon slams the golem to the floor and starts gathering energy in its mouth once again. You and I both know what is coming. Shutra curses and waves everyone back in a panic. He screams for them to run because the dragon is using its breath attack now. A colossal torrent of purple flame erupts, smashing through the fortress walls and carving a deep, scorched path into the floor. Silence follows the blast. The dragon scans the wreckage for survivors and lets out a roar. Luckily, Shutra and his team found cover just in time. Karak nervously points out that Shutra said the dragon was not fully formed, and Shutra can only apologize. He never expected it to be this powerful. He looks at his spear, realizing the longer they wait, the stronger that monster gets. As he wonders how to win, Ascalon begins to glow. Ancient runes swirl around the metal, literally rewriting its shape. A sharp, spiked stone gauntlet forms over his hand, leaving Felicia staring at him in pure shock. She asks if the weapon just evolved. Shutra asks her to distract the beast while he prepares to finish it. She rains fireballs down on the dragon, moving constantly to keep it distracted and attacking from all sides. The beast growls in frustration, unable to pin her down. Meanwhile, Shutra slips behind it, feeling Ascalon's true will. He prepares to end it with a single strike, but he underestimates the monster. It suddenly senses his presence. Pazon whips its massive tail, sending Shutra flying into a wall with a sickening crash. His comrades scream out in worry. He coughs up blood, realizing he moved too soon. The dragon looms over him to finish him, but the floor suddenly shatters. Shutra opens his eyes to see a familiar sight. The golem has returned to the fight. Despite its heavy damage, the machine strikes with its hammer, surging electricity through the dragon before throwing the beast aside. The dragon roars in fury as the brutal brawl between the two giants starts all over again. Felicia and Green Wind rush to help Shutra. She immediately starts healing him, scolding him for failing to handle the dragon. He tries to apologize, but she tells him it is enough. They need to retreat while they still can. They cannot win this, but Shutra refuses. You and I can see he is being stubborn as he insists they can still do it. He simply admitted that he had been far too hasty. Alright, stick with me. We're diving into a moment where one mistake means a total wipeout. She needs to help him just one more time. He stood up with total confidence, summoning Green Wind before hopping onto his shield to fly straight at the dragon. The clash of giants raged on. He told Green Wind to take the long way around so they wouldn't get spotted by the beasts. Just then, the golem lost its second arm. The dragon blasted it with raw energy, and the fortress's defender finally crumbled. But it wasn't over. Felicia stepped in, casting a massive wall of fire right beneath the dragon's massive feet. Right on cue, Green Wind started circling its head to keep the monster distracted. She flew off to the side, and as the beast opened its mouth to blast her with fire, she gave Shutra the signal to finally make his move. He closed the distance fast, fueled by the power of dragon blood, knowing they had to end this right now. One strike was all it would take. Just like that spark from long ago, the dragon finally turned its gaze toward him. The spear was inches away before it tore through the dragon's neck for a second time, leaving absolutely nothing of it behind. Felicia screamed with joy. He actually did it. The massive dragon head hit the dirt, and a notification confirmed his victory over the zombie boss, Pazon. The main character leveled up instantly. Catching his breath, he stared at his spear, wondering if this was the true power of a dragon slayer. The system granted him the Dragon Slayer title, but then, out of nowhere, that masked stranger showed up again. He couldn't believe the dragon was actually dead, and he began looking around in a state of pure terror. Shutra hadn't even heard him approach. The stranger wondered if staying back was a mistake since the second prince never arrived. Shutra realized this guy resurrected Potison, but the stranger didn't care. He was going to take everything left behind. Blue flames erupted from his spear. He swung, and Shutra immediately braced for impact as a massive roar filled the air. The blue fire tore through the walls, aiming to incinerate the dragon's remains and the entire party along with it. But wait, pay attention here. The attack suddenly vanished into thin air, leaving the main character completely stunned. The stranger froze, coughed up blood, and his body suddenly split in half. Shutra couldn't even process what just happened. Then, a man with gray hair stepped forward and calmly mentioned that he seemed to have arrived just in time. Shutra's eyes went wide. He greeted the man with a smile, recognizing the legendary swordmaster immediately. He's the final shield for the Asura Shrine, and the man who mentored the Demon King, Matitra. The swordmaster Ishigard was a total legend in the game world, a power comparable to ancient laws who usually only existed in the deep backstory lore. Because of that, you could never meet him in the main plot. He was strictly background material. Even when Zephyr Ragnaros became the Demon King or when Locke invaded the Demon Lands, he never once appeared. You and I are looking at a true monster that even a Demon King could learn from the swordmaster Ishigard. The man walked up to the princess and noted how much she'd grown since he last saw her. He picked her up with a big laugh, mentioning she was just a tiny thing when they last met, which made her snap at him to put her back on the ground immediately. He just laughed, teasing her that she was still swearing like the child she used to be. While she turned red with embarrassment, the swordmaster turned to Shutra and asked if he liked the gift. Shutra smiled and thanked him for the dragon skin. It made for some elite gear. Monsters crept up behind him, but just as he noticed them, a massive sound shook the area. All the monsters nearby started exploding, leaving Carrick confused while Shutra shouted that they needed to get out of there. It turned out that Masked Stranger was somehow still alive. Right before a massive explosion brought the fortress ceiling down, they managed to push back the attack and survive the collapse. The swordmaster grumbled about the noise and asked if they were okay. Felicia wondered where that explosion even came from. You just can't understand these idiots. What exactly are they trying to achieve with all this? Shutra kept thinking about the stranger's dying words. Why was watching a mistake just because the prince didn't show? Something felt very wrong here. Ascalon clearly wasn't the target since he didn't even care about it. So, what were they really after? Then it hit him. He told Felicia that their actual target might be the second prince himself. She frowned, asking why he thought that. He explained that the spearmen admitted they were only watching because the prince hadn't arrived yet. Isn't it a bit too convenient for them to show up now? It's been 2 weeks since General Kashubal failed his mission. It's almost like they've been waiting for someone specific. Felicia's face went pale as she realized the truth. They killed the general just to lure the prince out. Trust me, you and I need to see what's next. All right, you and I are diving back in as she frowns, noting Zephyr was usually the one sent on these missions. It was possible, but why target him? Shutra mentions their enemy was incredibly meticulous, a total ghost. The guy even self-destructed just to make sure zero information leaked out. Ishigard finds the whole thing fascinating, but Felicia snaps that this is actually serious business. He insists he is being serious too, and with a heavy sigh, she asks why he even showed up. Now here is the part you need to hear. The Demon King himself is obsessed with the 9th prince. Our main character is stunned. Did he come for him? The swordmaster warns the king never acts without a motive. If he pulled something weird at the ceremony, trust me, there was a calculated reason behind it. Staring the kid down, Ishigard finally gets a rough idea of what is going on in the king's head. The vibe shifts instantly as the swordmaster reaches out, offering to trade something legendary. Everyone freezes in shock. He clarifies he is not taking a disciple, he is not even in that league. Plus, the kid already knows the beast god's arts. Felicia spins on Shutra, demanding to know when he learned that. But Shutra ignores her, eyes locked on the master, wondering how the hell he knew. The swordmaster notes a wild mix of energies inside him. He cannot even tell what they all are. Somehow, these clashing forces do not fight. They coexist perfectly, like they were meant to be one. Either way, he has definitely piqued the master's interest. He offers to share a few of his personal observations, and the main character can only stare in surprise. This is a total first for someone like him. Outside of the Demon King, Mitra the swordmaster has never offered his guidance to anyone. He swallows hard and bows, accepting the instructions. The man just gives him a knowing smile. The master places his hands on his shoulders, telling him that he is going to teach him a secret way to control his aura, along with several advanced techniques. After that, how he applies them is up to his own skill. Suddenly, a blinding light erupts. The swordmaster whispers that they are beginning. He shuts his eyes, focusing. This feels nothing like when he mastered the beast god's combat style. The energy flows like a flood, filling every single corner of his body. The system starts screaming notifications. Asura cultivation, Great Mountain, and Lightning God techniques all acquired. The swordmaster grins. This is absolutely incredible. Okay, you and I need to see this. He is mastering these techniques way faster than humanly possible, as he is lifted into the air, 2 multicolored energies swirling around him in a sight that makes his whole team uneasy. Ishigard cannot believe his eyes. He wonders if such a thing is even possible. The powers intertwine. Asura cultivation and the beast god arts are actually harmonizing into something new. His stats skyrocket. Poison immunity hits level 300, opening the path to 10,000. He unlocks the harmony skill, and his S-rank beast god art starts to evolve. A massive beam of light pierces the sky as his aura turns a pure, snowy white. And just like that, he obtains the SS rank martial art, Asura's Divine Strike. He lands awkwardly as Felicia rushes over, panicking and asking what the hell just happened. The Swordmaster explains he only meant to teach him the Asura cultivation technique, but the kid somehow fused the Beast God's combat style and this new power into one single, devastating move. He did the impossible without even realizing it. Shutra gasps. He remembers that the only S-rank martial art in the entire game was the Hero Lock sword, but now the Beast God's hand-to-hand combat art has evolved into the legendary SS rank Asura's Divine Strike. Ishigard approaches, admitting the kid is way more impressive than he ever imagined. Our lead tries to explain, but the master cuts him off. He does not want answers, just results. When asked for a name, he takes a breath and proudly calls it Asura's Divine Strike. The man smiles. It is a simple name, but it carries a whole lot of weight. But here is the catch, he needs to keep this power a secret for now. He is already attracting a lot of attention, and the royal court does not need more reasons to be suspicious. He agrees it is for the best. Work is done, and now it is finally time to rest. Felicia is confused about the collection part, so he asks if this is her first ruin run. Stick with me, we are about to see them grab the loot before the expedition party arrives. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character draw his sword and divide the loot 3 ways. But what exactly were they planning to do with all those materials? Felicia is totally lost, so Shutra scratches his head and suggests they leave everything in the forge at the Demon King's castle. Ishigard likes the idea, but since they have such rare materials, why not trust them to one of his expert acquaintances instead? He personally vouches for his skill. Have you guys ever heard of Amida? Our main character is stunned while Felicia's brother excitedly yells that it is Amida Ignosia, the greatest blacksmith in the demon realm. Ishigard smiles because he knows exactly who they are talking about, and he is definitely impressed by the suggestion. Meeting him is a massive hidden event. Amida is a shapeshifter, appearing as both a man and a woman in various rumors. Some even say Amida isn't just a single person, but a name passed down through a clan. Meeting him is pure luck, and trust me, I've only found him 3 times in 10 full playthroughs. The Swordmaster is just glad he doesn't have to explain all that complicated lore to the group. He reveals the hermit's current location, but warns them to move fast since he changes his residence quite often these days. The blacksmith hates meeting people, but if they mention Ishigard's name, he'll actually be willing to receive them. Shutra is thrilled. Not only did he get high-tier martial arts, but now he knows the location of a legendary forge. He has become incredibly rich in such a short time. They finish searching the treasury and head straight for the archives, which Felicia insists they absolutely have to look into. As they descend into the dusty archive, Felicia loses her patience and demands that Shutra hurry up and move faster. He sneezes, complaining that there is just way too much dust down here for his liking. She smirks, asking if his curiosity is weaker than ordinary dust, while Karak sighs at the prince's total lack of interest. They enter the archives. Felicia starts digging through shelves and excitedly shows Delea a book, praising how well the dwarves preserved these ancient records. Dwarves are meticulous workers, and Mimi follows her around, collecting every single book she finds interesting. Karak takes a nap while our main character watches the girls enjoy themselves, wondering just how ancient this archive really is. He finds records carved onto stone slabs, and one conveniently falls off the shelf right in front of him to grab. It catches his eye immediately, so he picks it up to examine the ancient image carved into the stone. The art looks very familiar. On the right are Enkel and Enkidu, 2 of the 6 ancient dragons. Now watch closely, the woman opposite them is the same one who demanded he conquer everything and bow to her. What is she doing here? This picture has to be over 1,000 years old, showing 4 people and 6 ancient dragons together. What kind of connection could possibly bring all of them to gather in one place like this? Suddenly, Greenwind's face pops up, asking why he's so serious before she flies off, telling him to follow her. She found something worth praising, a massive book on a pulpit titled The Records of the Ancient Dragons. He starts reading and realizes every ancient dragon had a nickname that perfectly suited its unique character and traits. Enkidu, who possessed the power of destruction, was known as a tyrant. Enkel was the gentle mother to all, while the fierce and furious Kulton was the ultimate warrior. Despite his ferocity, he was closer to ice than fire, a cold flame and a silent warrior who rarely drew his sword. But if he ever does, his rage will burn the entire world to ashes. He continues reading and notes these entries are mostly about Kulton, detailing legends and even the specific location of the lair. He spots a mark on the Lake of the Sun and wonders if the Elder Dragon's lair is really hidden beneath the lake. He realizes why the veterans never found it. Meanwhile, Greenwind demands her praise for finding the lead. Then an idea hits. Shutra, isn't that lake right near where the legendary blacksmith Amida is currently living? The Swordmaster mentioned he was hiding out near the Spider Forest right now. It's near the Lycanthrope region, and since he needs to find Caitlin and Chris anyway, the timing is perfect. He praises Greenwind while thinking about meeting Amida and receiving the weapon of the Elder Dragon, Kulton. And trust me, If this works out, the next journey is a massive gift for us. They spent 4 days at Thunder Fortress. Felicia's energy was absolutely astounding. Until the day they left, she showed zero fatigue while sitting in those archives. All right, stick with me as our main character dives deep into the hunt for ancient dragons. Sadly, there wasn't a single lead on any dragon besides Kultine, though he did find one small consolation. He used the King's Knight's promotion on Karak, making him way stronger, and asked if he felt the difference. The orc checked his body and the powerful aura surrounding him before giving a firm nod of confirmation. After testing a few moves, he smiled, knowing their grind paid off. His rank was now Barracks Commander. By the next morning, Felicia had sent over a brand new mission plan to the Demon King's castle. A message warned that General Kashubal's death was likely a trap specifically designed to lure out Zephyr. Business was done, so they prepared to leave. But a curious Felicia shyly asked Shutra for a tour first. She felt there was still so much left to explore, but the Swordmaster flatly refused. They had to hunt down a meet before he vanished into thin air again. With no time to waste, he ushered her into the carriage, signaled Kak, and immediately spurred the horses into action. Looking out the window, he reflected on the many dangerous close calls they had barely survived recently. Despite the risks, this mission's rewards were massive, proving that the gamble had been well worth the effort. Now, trust me, you and I are going to want to see the look on Caitlyn's face when she sees Asura's divine strike. 3 days later, a new expedition force assembled to track the killers who had been hunting for Zephyr. As the one directly in their crosshairs, Zephyr himself stepped up to take full command of the unit. In the archives, he found a stone slab showing 4 dragons, naming the first 3 Famine, Death, and War. But who was this mysterious 4th woman? Long ago, a lone knight challenged a dragon in the volcanic lands. He told her to start the fight, sparking the Night War, while Shutra focused on his intense training. He launched a fire arrow, but it suddenly veered off course and slammed right back into him. Kirk was stunned by his methods, while Felicia found it surprising he could take such hits and be fine. After taking damage, Shutra instantly used heal, leveling up the skill and boosting his mana control efficiency. He stopped to take a quick breath. Karak noted how intense he looked, while Felicia agreed his magic was soaring, so they left him to his training. They kept a strict schedule training through the night and traveling across the lands during the day. They were headed for the Spider Forest to find Amida Ignashi, taking a shortcut right through lycanthrope territory. But wait, you and I saw this coming, right? The carriage is suddenly blocked by lycanthrope guards. The guards barked that the passage was temporarily closed and ordered the group to turn back immediately. Karak asked for an explanation, but they claimed it was official business for the lycanthrope royal family. Felicia stepped out, but the guard threatened her with his baton, demanding to know if she was deaf. She told him to stand down and open the path, insisting on an immediate meeting with their leader. The man snapped, pointing a finger and asking if she actually thought she was some kind of princess. She calmly confirmed it, leaving him stuttering in total confusion as she repeated that she was indeed royalty. With no other choice, he let them pass, leaving the 2 guards to sit with hands raised in punishment. Caitlyn was thrilled to see her friends, running up to ask what they were doing in this area. Felicia fired back that she was the one who should be explaining why they were blocking the roads. As Caitlyn struggled to find words, her brother stepped in and asked Shutra about the absolute chaos at the Demon King's castle. He was asked what he did there. With a smirk, he told them to follow him outside so he could finally show them his progress. At the training grounds, the main character demonstrated his terrifying new abilities in a heated duel with Caitlyn. They blurred across the field, a whirlwind of strikes and parries as they tested each other's limits. They traded one final punch that sent a roar of energy through the air, signaling the end of the fight. When she asked about the technique, he revealed it was the legendary Asura's divine strike. Felicia stepped in, proudly explaining the secrets behind this power. And that's where we leave it, a lethal fusion of beast god combat and Asura cultivation from the Sword Lord. Wild, right? Alright, you and I are about to witness Shutra's terrifying genius. Chris is shocked he learned the move, but the Sword Lord says it's simply natural. Caitlyn enthusiastically runs to her brother, calling him amazing. She's desperate to know can she learn that Asura divine strike, too. He admits he didn't build it as a formal technique, so passing it on right now is basically impossible. Chris can't believe it. A martial art so wild even the creator can't teach it? He asks if it's really that absurd. I'll take that as a compliment, right? He smiles, realizing Shutra's growth rate is nightmare fuel. If he doesn't want to be left behind, he needs to train even harder. Back at camp, Chris admits that since Shutra has grown so much, it's time to talk. But everything he says must stay a secret. Now pay attention, the most dangerous prisoner on the lowest floor of the Grey Tower has just escaped. Shutra knows the Grey Tower only holds the most brutal lycanthrope criminals. If this man was on the bottom floor, then it's definitely him. Chris confirms his fears the escaped man is none other than Gerard Moonlight. He's actually their maternal uncle. Felicia is totally stunned, having no idea they even had a relative like that. Chris explains that Gerard was locked in the Grey Tower 20 years ago. He was once a legendary and mighty warrior from the lycanthrope royal family. If he hadn't lost his mind, the throne would have belonged to him instead of their mother. He was obsessed with power, and the standard combat style of the beast god just wasn't enough for him. He turned to forbidden, heretical methods and completely lost his mind. His madness became a walking catastrophe for everyone around him. It took hundreds of lycanthrope lives just to finally bring him down and subdue him. They were lucky the chaos stayed within the palace walls, allowing them to cover up the entire incident from the public. Felicia is worried. Does this mean a monster like that is currently wandering around their territory? Caitlin mentions the reports say their uncle, Gerard, was last seen heading toward the east. Chris adds that he lost half of his aura in the last battle, so maybe they shouldn't panic just yet. Felicia points out that east is the opposite direction, while Shutra asks if they truly know where he's hiding. Okay, I know what you're thinking, is this a game side quest? Shutra wonders if the secret mission to free Gerard from his playthrough has already started. That very same night, Gerard launches a brutal attack on the lycanthrope camp. He grabs the last surviving guard by the throat and demands to know where is the moongrass. Shutra stares ahead in shock, wondering where he is. A stunningly beautiful girl appears, making him wonder if this is part of a conquest. Suddenly, the girl points her finger at him. A massive black hole appears out of nowhere, dragging him deep into the void. Shutra suddenly realizes the feeling and asks, is this what hunger feels like? A moment later, he bolts upright in bed, breathing hard. He can't understand that strange, black energy from his dream. He has no clue what it was, but he feels a dark, disturbing hostility. Why was hunger the only word on his mind? Confused, he's scratching his head when Carrick bursts in with news of a disaster. Shutra spins around, asking what happened. Carrick reports an enemy has broken through. A man with a long scar on his cheek, radiating a sinister black energy. He's crushing soldiers with his bare hands while unleashing that dark power. Shutra connects the dots instantly, the scar, the style, it's Gerard. Meanwhile, Chris and Caitlin step outside only to see a field of destroyed creatures. They're cursing the carnage when Shutra arrives, shouting that Gerard was supposed to be miles away in the east. Chris is stunned by how fast Shutra arrived and can't find the words. Shutra screams for him to stop hiding things. He demands to know what they're really doing here. Chris just stares at the ground in a heavy, guilty silence. Caitlin suggests it's all because of the moongrass, but Chris just turns and snaps at her to shut up. She explains that the moongrass was their goal all along. They didn't even know Gerard had escaped until later. Our hero realizes the moongrass is a legendary medicinal plant that only blooms once every 100 years. It's a legendary lycanthrope treasure with insane restorative powers. It's so potent that it can literally pull someone back from the edge of death. In the game's original saga, this was an item you got after defeating Chris and Caitlin. That means Gerard is here for the moongrass, hoping to restore the half of his aura he lost earlier. Suddenly, a pillar of light shoots from the forest into the sky. Shutra knows that's Felicia's signature magic. Tiny beams of light scatter everywhere as Felicia summons a massive wall of fire to incinerate her opponent. She is exhausted but keeps fighting. Gerard lunges at her, and she freezes. Trust me, you and I are definitely not ready for this cliffhanger. Let's dive in, as our hero suddenly leaps into the fray, shielding her with his incredible power. He tosses Gerard aside like trash and asks Felicia if she's okay. Seeing him, she can finally smile. Gerard regrouped for another strike, but Chris and Caitlin were already moving in, launching a pincer attack from behind. Gerard wonders if these are Elaine Moonlight's kids. Suddenly, the clearing erupts in blue light as he prepares his next strike. Caitlin screams that Gerard is a filthy traitor and demands that he surrender right now. She throws a heavy punch, but Gerard just scoffs, telling her she looks just like her mother. She freezes for a split second, and Gerard exploits it instantly. He lands a brutal blow, sending Caitlin flying back. Chris screams her name in pure terror, turning his head to see the devastating impact. But then, a fanged beast lunges from the shadows behind them. It roars as Gerard begins chanting a dark spell. The creature pounces, catching the confused group completely off guard. Shutra gapes in shock as he faces the screaming monster. He wonders if this suffocating dark energy is actually pure hunger. He tries to make sense of the chaos, only to realize he's caught in Gerard's iron grip. Gerard unleashes his magic on Chris, blasting him back with earth-shattering force. Now pay attention here, because Chris is screaming in agony, and Shutra can't believe how strong this guy is. Gerard shouldn't be this powerful. His body should be withered after years of rot in a dark cell. Gerard sneers, asking how they dare get distracted right in front of him. Talk about pure arrogance. Shutra grits his teeth as Gerard crushes his throat. As he gasps for air, the villain begins casting a terrifying desecration spell. Shutra fights with everything he's got, straining his body to resist the dark magic. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the area. Chris has returned, launching a desperate surprise attack from behind. Shutra shouts as Gerard tries to finish him off, but Chris screams at the villain to stop lying. Chris clenches his fist, declaring himself the true opponent as he rains down a barrage of heavy blows. Magic glows everywhere, but Gerard just smirks through the light, looking totally unbothered. He asks why his nephew didn't even say hello, but Chris tells him to shut his mouth. The royal lycanthrope Gerard died 20 years ago. This man is just a pathetic, escaped convict. I know what you're thinking, is this the turning point? Shutra grips his sword as a royal golden light erupts. Chris is stunned. He feels a sudden surge of inspiration. Is this Shutra's legendary magic at work? Power overflows his body. Channeling this new energy, Chris slams a heavy strike right into his enemy. Gerard notices the change in speed. Just then, Caitlin reappears behind him, her eyes burning with pure determination. She lands a punch to his back. Gerard freezes, slowly turning around with an expression of pure malice. Chris isn't done yet. He screams, clenching his fist as he prepares for the next round of combat. Impact after impact. The exchange is so fast that Felicia admits she can't even follow the movements. Dust clouds the air from the shockwaves. Through the haze, Shutra smiles, confident that Chris and Caitlin are winning. They keep pressing the attack, fueled by pure rage. Gerard admits they really are Elaine's kids. Because of that, he's finally going to stop holding back. Fire ignites in his eyes as the monster roars. The beast lunges, trapping Caitlin's head in its massive paws. She's paralyzed with fear. Before she can react, the monster unleashes a flurry of devastating blows. Shutra freezes as the monster slams Caitlin's head into the dirt with bone-shattering force. Chris screams her name. Caitlin is down, lying motionless in a pool of blood. It looks bad. Chris swears to kill him, but the beast just swats him away like an annoying fly. He crashes so hard that a massive tree snaps like a toothpick. The beast roars, moving to finish Chris off. But Shutra isn't having it, deploying a shield just in time. The monster is stunned. Shutra yells for Karak to call the knights, but Karak is already there, battle ready. Karak grabs his blade, while Shutra channels his magic, launching himself at the enemy with glowing fists. He activates the giant piston spell. The monster watches his hand in shock before letting out a roar. Trust me, this is the birth of a legend. Shutra finishes him with the secret wild wolf strike. Alright, stick with me. Shutra just flew back from an attack that terrified Karak, but this isn't over yet. Prince, the beast is totally enveloped in dark, suffocating magical energy now. The energy pours out of him as he laughs. Who knew he'd stand after a wild wolf strike? Shutra is trembling violently but stays grounded, spitting up blood as the master vows to kill him for good this time. Shutra wasn't ready for this at all and just mutters to himself. No. He gathers his strength and declares it's his turn. He strikes with the beast god's secret combat art, leaving the monster stunned. It was the same wild wolf strike our main character used to blast the beast earlier. The system confirms he's mastered the secret art of the beast god and the wild wolf strike technique. He's locked in, telling the monster it's time for him to feel that same pain. Suddenly, the monster screams in agony as blood sprays from its mangled mouth. The beast can't understand how this freak knows the wolf's punch. Shutra watches him fall and lands an explosive fist to the jaw. The monster lets out a deafening roar, swinging its massive paws and howling in total agony. Now pay attention. Shutra lands and promises to kill him, but the monster's grin makes him yell White Siri. A thick shroud suddenly appears, and he's totally lost as to what happened. Just like that, the monster has vanished. Did it actually run away? The system confirms his level just shot up multiple times. The problem is solved for now. He immediately turns to Felicia and asks how Caitlin is doing. Felicia says it's looking bad. The wound is too deep for normal magic to fix. Shutra grabs his chest, groaning in pain. Felicia notices and asks what's going on. Even though her outer wounds are closed, the inside of her body is in a state of total disaster right now. Was this the price for forcing out her aura? Felicia is still lost in confusion. She frantically asks if he's okay, but Shutra is shaking as he tells her not to worry about him. He just needs rest and tells her to focus on Caitlin. Then, Chris arrives with something for both of them. Felicia asks what it is, and he reveals a box containing a legendary magical flower. It's moongrass, which can save them. Felicia uses its power to start reviving the unconscious Caitlin and Shutra. Felicia takes the flower and splits it into two shimmering pieces. The particles drift into their bodies. Caitlin's mouth falls open as the power takes hold. She starts coming around, and that deep wound begins to glow with a strange light. Okay, you and I see it. They're rising into the sky as Felicia cries out for Shutra in fear. Chris has never seen this before, but he remembers the ancient legend of the moongrass. The original Wolf King once united the scattered lycanthropes and founded a great nation. A beautiful but fierce dragon invaded their land. After a 7-day war, the Wolf King finally slew the beast. But that endless battle took a heavy toll on his aging body. His heart was failing him, In his final moments of despair, he found a white flower and ate it by instinct. That flower was filled with pure moonlight. It became the Wolf King's new heart, and from then on, he was known as the Moonlight King. He protected the land for ages, but he was the only one to ever truly transform. Generations of lycanthropes tried eating that same flower, but none could gain a new heart like the first king. That's the ancient story of the moongrass. But now, it's all happening again right before their eyes to Shutra, who isn't even part of their race. A beam of light pierces Shutra's chest as he continues to hover in the air. The system reports an enhanced interaction, with his unique constitution reacting perfectly to the moongrass's power. His eyes glow with magical light as his body transforms. He now possesses two separate hearts within him. He opens his eyes and wakes up to find himself right next to Caitlin, who's hugging him tightly. Totally embarrassed, he jumps up and asks her what's going on. They were apparently sleeping in the same bed together. He looks toward the door. You and I must see what is next. Let's dive in. The Queen's men enter, and she approaches with a smile, hoping he slept well before calling him the 9th Prince of Shutra. Shutra stares at her, completely dumbfounded. He realizes he's seen that face countless times back in the game. This was the 4th Queen, Elaine Moonlight. She is the ruler of the lycanthropes and the biological mother of Chris and Caitlin. Elaine mentions how her children survived only because of him. She asks how she could possibly repay his bravery. He scrambles out of bed, insisting it was nothing. He claims he just did the best he could. Elaine smiles, telling him there is no need for modesty. What he did was truly worthy of great praise. Shutra thanks her, and Elaine decides that's enough small talk. She shifts her gaze, ready to get straight to the point. Now pay attention. She looks at Shutra and drops a bombshell. 9th Prince, you want to become the Demon King. Then, she extends her hand with a game-changing offer. Shutra's jaw drops in pure shock as he asks what she means. She simply notes that the thought clearly hadn't even crossed his mind. Considering his lowly position until now, his confusion makes perfect sense. But his situation has shifted, and she tells him to think carefully. He needs to consider what truly benefits him before she finally turns and leaves. After a while, Shutra realizes he's been out for 4 whole days, which Green Wind quickly confirms. She's certain because she never took her eyes off him. He tells her it's clear and asks her to explain the current situation. Green Wind explains that they are currently in the royal villa belonging to the family and the lycanthropes. They're sharing a bed to boost the healing effects. Confused, Shutra asks what she means by healing. Green Wind asks if he forgot about using the moongrass. He's stunned, asking her to repeat herself. He actually used the legendary moongrass? The system reports his protagonist physique, a special passive skill, and a level 1 moon pill. He's shocked, feeling a brand new power weaving into his existing aura. It's an incredible sensation, almost as if a second heart has started beating inside of him. He grips his chest, feeling the raw, magical power surging. Greenwind adds that Chris mentioned being close activates their life forces. She tells him to hold Caitlin's hand if he wants to understand exactly what that power feels like. Shutra turns his gaze toward Caitlin, hesitating. Should he really reach out and hold her hand? He tries it immediately, and the moment they touch, an incredible aura erupts around them. He looks at his hand, questioning the sensation. Greenwind confirms it. Thanks to that moongrass, the two of them are now permanently connected. Their connection is now absolute. Later, Chris meets our hero in the hallway and reports that Gerard's status remains unknown. No one knows if he's alive or dead. There were many casualties during investigation. They found parts of Gerard's lower and upper body, but Chris won't stop the search until he's 100% sure the man is dead. He won't leave anything to chance. Shutra agrees it's for the best. Right then, Chris mentions he heard about the massive proposal his mother just made to him. Shutra realizes he's talking about the Queen's question. She actually asked him if he would become the Demon King. Chris admits that while he's strong, he's no monster. He's at most a Sylvan, unable to close the 10-year gap between himself and Prince Bull. And when it comes to the second prince, a literal monster, there is no even comparing the two. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Can he really beat those monsters? Well, Chris believes Shutra is the one who can actually catch up and become the Demon King. Chris explains that unlike him, Shutra has the support of other races and the backing of the legendary Sword Lord. Who knows? Maybe his future achievements will be so great that even the current prisoners get pardoned. Shutra is shocked. Prisoners? He hasn't seen a single one yet. He wonders what they could have possibly done to deserve being locked up. Chris clarifies that he needs to start making moves right now. He's simply advising him to think it over. There is a massive difference between having a solid plan and just wandering aimlessly. Shutra looks away in silence, deep in thought. Gazing out the window, he whispers the words, Demon King. A moment later, a chariot speeds through the forest, carrying Ludwig Manite, the fierce captain of the Bloody Wolf Squad. Elaine sits beside him, explaining her insight into the Demon King. He always has a reason for his actions and wouldn't be so spontaneous during an audience twice without a very specific goal. He clearly saw something special in the ninth prince. After all, they share the same bloodline. Frankly, Ludwig doesn't see what's so special. Elaine just chuckles and tells him he's being far too naive about it. Even if his own son kills him to take the throne, the Demon King would still technically return to power. It would simply mean a Demon King stronger than him was finally born. That's just the nature of their world. Of course, this path involves plenty of unnecessary risks, but it only benefits them if the ninth prince actually becomes the next Demon King. So what do you and I take from this? The demon world is a brutal place where the strongest rule everything, and things only flow by their absolute will. Elaine just chuckled, saying it happened exactly like that. Looking out the window, she admitted it somehow made her both happy and upset at the same time. A bit later, night falls, and you and I can hear the captain screaming to find him. Gerard is close, and in his wrecked state, he won't get far. The monsters keep hunting until they spot Gerard leaning against a tree. They start howling that they finally found their target sitting right there. He clearly had time to think things over. Will he take the deal? Gerard suddenly snaps awake and triggers his drain skill with a vengeance. A massive wave of light erupts, sending monsters flying in every single direction. Gerard stands up and gives his answer. He's in. It's time for them to start everything over from the very beginning. Dark, magical energy wraps around his body like a shroud. He knows this is exactly what he needs to do to reach a brand new ending. Days later, Caitlin wakes up in a cold sweat. She clutches her chest, unable to explain this heavy, crushing feeling in her heart. With Gerard gone, Chris returns to the palace. By the next morning, the group is heading toward the spider forest to find Amit. Once they cross the twin bridges, they will have to ditch the horses and move fast on foot. Chris introduces their guide, a boar lycanthrope named Robin. Shutra asks if he's actually been here before, and what they should expect from the forest. Robin explains that he visited about 6 months ago, and the place was exactly what he thought it would be. He calls it a peaceful place with no monsters or animals. Shutra just grins. Finally, a moment of peace for the first time in forever. But stick with me because something feels off. Shutra barely has time to process the silence before they stumble into a clearing full of skeletons. Everyone froze in pure terror. Robin looks back and asks what happened. Shutra exhales, realizing his bad gut feeling was right on the money this whole time. He scans the trees for any clue about what happened. Eventually, the sun rises, and the team pushes deeper into the mysterious woods. Green Wind speaks up, claiming she can sense the guardian spirit of this forest nearby. Shutra listens, as Green Wind explains the power is fading fast. The local spirits are terrified that their guardian is about to vanish forever. Shutra turns to Robin and asks if a guardian actually exists in the spider forest. Robin says stories are passed down through generations, but it's mostly just a legend about a massive spider lurking in the deepest parts of the woods. Shutra stares into the shadows and tells Karma to go back and warn the other lycanthropes about what just happened. She immediately takes off, shouting that she's on it. Green Wind looks up, sensing a massive surge of magic nearby. If this power breaks, something absolutely horrifying is going to be unleashed on the world. Evening arrives, and they set up camp by the fire. Shutra mentions Green Wind's warning about the spirits losing their hold on the forest. What happens if the spirit dies? Felicia explains that a spirit only disappears in 2 specific ways. Either the spirit itself is destroyed in battle, or the very thing it was sworn to protect gets wiped out completely. Basically, if the spirit's core source is gone, it's over. Even though Green Wind looks tiny, she is high rank. If her source breaks, she will get weaker, but she won't just vanish into thin air. Usually, spirits die with their source. This happens most with artificial guardians, like the ones you would find protecting ancient ruins or deep dungeons. Shutra realizes the spider forest guardian must be failing because its source has been damaged by something or someone in the woods. Felicia agrees, but wait, watch this. She suddenly looks up at the sky with a face full of pure confusion and dread. She points out the moon's bizarre new color, just as Caitlin starts screaming at the top of her lungs. Nobody knows what's wrong with her. Shutra lunges forward, trying to grab her and keep her from hurting herself. He begs her to snap out of it, but her eyes are glowing with a terrifying magical light. She looks like she's possessed by something truly evil. Total chaos erupts across the camp. Shutra looks around, completely lost as the nightmare truly begins. Karak stumbles out of his tent, shouting to find out what's happening. It's really him, their friend Karak. Suddenly, the others start attacking him. Felicia screams and unleashes a blinding flash of light to stop the fighting for just a second. Everyone is dazed. Her familiar whispers that this madness is being caused by a spirit of insanity. A spirit of madness? Before they can react, Daphne steps up and starts weaving a powerful defensive spell. The crew begins to lose their footing and collapse. Shutra, still holding Caitlin, feels her finally come back to her senses as the dark energy fades. Carrot gasps, wondering what just happened. Daphne warns that the spirits are gone for now, but they'll be back. They have to find the source of this curse immediately. A roar shakes the forest under that eerie green moon. And trust me, you and I are not ready for what comes next. Let's dive in. Daphne senses the protection is gone, and things are spiraling. Green Wind warns that it is all a massive illusion. This spirit's power is so overwhelming that you can't even tell what's real and what's fake anymore. Shutra knows something is wrong and shouts a curse. Suddenly, massive bears and terrifying monsters lunge right at them. He screams for everyone to gear up for battle. Shutra unleashes an explosive fist spell, smashing into his first target. The whole team jumps into the fray. Felicia taps into her magic to shield her allies who are hanging on by a thread. Karak panics, yelling to the prince that they're being completely swarmed by far too many enemies. Shutra curses under her breath and tells Green Wind to scout from above. She agrees and immediately blasts off into the sky. Getting closer, she spots a massive pillar of light and a terrifying giant. She can't believe her eyes. That blinding light is absolutely everywhere. Shutra demands to know what's happening. Karak just yells back, hoping the monsters aren't launching another massive wave of attacks. Strangely, the monsters, glowing with magical energy, start moving away in the opposite direction. Shutra watches in total shock as Mimi shouts that the enemies are actually pulling back. She's confused by their retreat, but Shutra suggests moving their spirits for safety. Just then, he senses something is off and hears a strange sound. He whips around instantly, demanding to know who's hiding there. Here's the part you've got to see. Someone whacks Karak on the head, sending him tumbling. Shutra looks down in shock. It's a raccoon, and he talks back. He actually called him a raccoon. Doesn't he see how massive he is? Everyone is speechless as the raccoon introduces himself as Amida. He's the legendary master protector of the final flame itself. Shutra asks again if he's really Amida. The raccoon starts screaming, offended that the prince has a problem with his current form. Shutra says that's not the point. He remembers that throughout the entire saga, Amida's physical appearance has always been constantly shifting. Sometimes a human, other times an animal. Amida keeps yelling, demanding to know exactly who these new people are. Shutra realizes he's stuck with a raccoon version this time, and he's definitely not going to get used to it anytime soon. Shutra introduces himself formally, explaining that he's the 9th prince hailing from the Demon King's Grand Palace. Felicia steps up too, introducing herself as the 6th princess. They've been searching for both him and the legendary Swordmaster. She apologizes for the mix-up and asks for an explanation. Amida purrs, actually looking like he's willing to talk things through now. His cheeks turn pink from the attention. He explains he moved to the heart of the spider forest months ago to gather crafting materials. Get this part. He planned to stay 6 more months, but then a group swamped in purple death energy suddenly attacked. Shutra is stunned. Purple death energy? Amida asks if they know those guys. Shutra confirms they fought them while they were protecting the guardians of the Anger Plains. Amida figures that's just how they survive. Shutra asks if that means Amida has been protecting this local guardian as well. He says he owes the guardian a favor, especially with the dangerous lycanthropes that are always patrolling this forest territory. He thought that setting up a barrier and waiting it out would solve things. Shutra is confused and asks which barrier. Green Wind suggests it'll be faster if he just sees what she saw. She recalls that massive giant punching through the magical wall. Shutra is stunned. He can't even begin to comprehend what's happening. He reports that the barrier has been smashed, and Amida confirms there's only one protection layer left standing. The real problem is that everyone hunting the last flame for all these years has finally started to unite. The forest spirits are going insane. This is all they're doing. Daphne steps closer and asks exactly who these people are. Amida explains that they were once noble spirit guardians, but now, they've turned into spirits of nature who have gone completely mad. They think that if they absorb the last flame, they can finally go back to who they were before they lost their sanity. Basically, they've joined forces with those guys, and that corrupt purple energy. No matter what, they just keep getting stronger. So, the forest spirit guardians started pulling power from the world lines to beef up the barrier. But the side effect is bad. It merged with the world lines, and now escaping this place is literally impossible for everyone. Felicia asks what happens if the last flame is extinguished. He admits he has no clue, since that's never occurred in history. Maybe the end of the world will finally come, just like everyone keeps saying. Shutra tenses up, completely speechless. Amida tells them that because of this crisis, they're going to have to help him out. Karak speaks up for Shutra, asking if he knows there's no such thing as a free lunch. Amida's shocked. Karak demands one favor for each person. Trust me, you and I are about to see if he takes the deal. Alright. You and I are diving into a scene where Amida asks what is wrong as someone screams about their deadly situation. Karak demands to know if he realizes this is an unprecedented crisis where their very last hope might literally flicker out. Maybe it just goes dark and nothing happens. Who knows? They are all gambling their lives here, so he really needs to think. Amida is absolutely livid, teeth clenched and body shaking, until he finally snaps and agrees to go through with the entire plan. Karak just laughs, telling him he better stick to his word and keep his promise to the team. Greenwind chimes in, so she is not forgotten either. By the next day, the plan is explained to everyone who was knocked out. Caitlin and Sarah are completely horrified, realizing the situation is actually much worse now than back when they sent Karma for help. He sends Robin racing back to alert the lycanthropes and requests some much-needed reinforcements. Finally, they are left alone deep in the forest, huddling together in a circle to talk through their final strategy. Amida breaks it down. The enemy attacks in two main phases. First, a massive wave of crazed monsters throws themselves headfirst at the barrier. It is true. Hordes of lunatics are trying to grind the barrier down until it finally breaks. These monsters are naturally fierce, making them extremely easy targets for the spirit of madness to take total control of them. Basically, they need to come up with a counter plan immediately. Pay attention here, because after the barrier is finally chipped away, a massive white giant appears to finish the job and destroy everything they have left. This beast is a fusion of mad guardians. Honestly, it is even more terrifying than those creeps with the purple death energy. The giant will tear a hole in their defense, funneling the first wave of attackers right into one single point for them. If they can stop the barrier from weakening, that giant will never even get the chance to destroy their defenses. He knows this because he has been analyzing their strength while they spent the last few days hammering away at the barrier. If the wall stands until dawn, the enemy will retreat, giving them 24 hours to rebuild before the next round repeats. 2 days. That is all they need. Suddenly, Caitlin gets emotional and scoops the little raccoon guy right into a big tight hug. He just blushes and remains silent. Now, you and I can see Amida has a major weakness for women. Though Karak wonders if he actually likes the attention. Felicia asks if those 2 days include reinforcements, but he says no, there is a much bigger, self-sufficient reason they can win. Deep inside their ship, a weapon he built is currently charging up. Once that process is finally finished, it is game over. That weapon is the only thing that can kill the white giant. Soon, night falls, and the team climbs up the structure. Karak stares at the weapon in his hands, buzzing with excitement. He has been waiting to use Amida's legendary gear for ages. Daphne explains that wearing this on your head blocks the spirit madness. Caitlin accepts it, offering a quick word of thanks. A massive roar echoes from the trees. Shutra spots a dark mass moving through the woods. They are finally coming for them. It is a nightmare. A massive army of monsters and giants charging straight at them while roaring at the top of their lungs. Shutra screams for everyone to hit their positions. They cannot let them break through. They just need to hold for 2 days. They have to endure the whole time. With that, Shutra clenches his fists, preparing himself for the absolute chaos about to unfold. The monsters lunge with a deafening roar. Felicia steps up, swinging her staff and blasting the front line with pure magical energy. She catches her breath with relief, suddenly remembering the advice Amida gave her about her power. If she can truly tap into the power of all things, this new staff will unleash magic beyond anything she can use now. She focuses, shouting flame. A searing beam of fire tears through the pack, ending in one massive, blinding explosion a moment later. Shutra shouts that her power is incredible. Now, he tells her to leave the rest to them. He triggers his explosive fist, sending monsters flying as they scream in pain. Everyone is putting in work. Sarah is absolutely furious, screaming at the monsters for even daring to challenge their group. Caitlin cheers her on, but then Karak goes wide-eyed with shock. He slams his mace down, sending pillars of bright light erupting everywhere. He is shocked, realizing that the weapon Amida gave him is definitely not just for show. It is a serious power-up. As the battle continues, Amida watches from a distance and asks Daphne if the name of that talented prince is actually Shutra. She says yes. Amida admits his gear needs improvement, but he has talent. If they survive this, he promises to upgrade the kid himself. Bodies of fallen monsters are now piling up everywhere on the ground. Amida yells out a warning, the white giant is coming. Everyone needs to get behind the barrier right now. Shutra signals, and you and I just witnessed them closing the barrier just in time to protect them. Alright. You and I are jumping right into a battle against a monster that dwarfs everything we have seen. A massive giant looms over them as Shutra mutters. So that is what he looks like. Seeing him in the flesh is terrifying. Suddenly, the behemoth starts slamming its fists against their shield, desperate to break inside. Karak stands there frozen, realizing this monster could wipe them all out with a single strike. Amida tells everyone to stay calm. The barrier will hold, they just need to wait for the giant to vanish. The creature keeps pounding away without a moment of rest. The group waits in tense, heavy silence. But Shutra senses something is wrong. Things are not like they were yesterday. Felicia asks nervously, what is going on? He points out that strange blue aura. It was not there before, and it is spreading, making their defense brittle and easy to shatter. Cracks start spiderwebbing across the surface. Felicia screams as the barrier begins to fall apart right before their eyes. Amita is stunned. This should not be possible. She realizes they are facing the literal power of death itself. The shield shatters completely, leaving them totally exposed. Shutra yells for everyone to run before they get crushed. The giant charges, striking Shutra first. The impact sends him flying across the battlefield, slamming hard into the stone stairs. He barely manages to pull out his shield as Felicia lets out a terrified scream. Karak is panicking because the prince is in bad shape. One more hit from that monster and it is game over for him. Now, watch closely, because something completely unexpected is about to drop from the clouds. Look up, a flying ship is right above them. Only one captain sails the skies with a blade that can cut through the heavens. It is the Dark Elves. Felicia cries out in relief. Her brother Sylvan actually came to save them. He shouts the order to load the main cannons. The ship slams into the giant, forcing it back. The creature staggers, looking around and wondering what just hit it. The vessel glides past the beast and heads straight for the boys. Felicia stares in shock, whispering her brother Sylvan's name. A second later, the giant is blown into a million tiny pieces. The ship lands as the boys stand there, speechless. Droplets of the giant's fluid rain down everywhere. They realize these are fragments of the massive white giant falling around them. One of those pieces starts to float upward. Shutra watches, completely confused by what is happening now. New creatures begin to crawl out of the puddles. Amita confirms these are actually fallen spirit guardians. They have gone completely mad and turned to ruin, but they are still natural spirits. Everyone did great, but we are not done. Suddenly, the moon pulses with a bright blue light. The illusion finally breaks and the night sky returns to normal. But the nightmare continues as a whole army of giants appears. Amita gasps, wondering how this could possibly be happening. Shutra senses a shift in the air. A terrifying purple aura surges forward, sending a wave of fear through the group. You and I can feel the shift here. That energy is not just strong, it is pure death. Has he been hiding this power? A horrifying monster crawls out of that dark energy, letting out a roar that shakes the ground as it attacks. Felicia takes charge, yelling at Daphne to get Amita to the forest temple immediately. She shouts back that she is on it. Shutra tells everyone to lock in for round 2. Felicia leaps into the sky, raining down attacks on the monster from above to support her allies. One of the giants just stands there with his arms crossed, looking incredibly confident. Caitlin knows something is off. Shutra warns her to stay sharp. This guy looks like the leader of the pack. She wants to go scout him out, but Shutra stops her. He suggests they just end this whole thing right now. He reaches out his hand to her. Caitlin is surprised, asking why he is suddenly acting so gallant. She takes his hand and he tells her, this is the foundation. Energy erupts between them as their powers begin to resonate. The giant just stares as they both nod and say, okay, let us do this. They charge in. A moment later, they strike the giants from both sides, leaving the creatures completely caught off guard. The real fight begins. Suddenly, the rest of the giant army starts swarming the guys from every direction. Caitlin yells that she will handle this giant while he deals with the purple ones. He asks if she is really okay alone. She just barks back at him not to worry about her. As they fight, Caitlin realizes Shutra is sharing his aura with her so she can unleash Asura's divine strike. She lunges at the monster, shouting that she can take care of this trash all by herself. The giant's magic wraps around her arms, but she starts swinging him around and slamming him into the dirt. Shutra sees her struggle and shouts her name, but another giant lunges at him. He raises his shield, calling them all freaks. He wipes them out with one swing. Trust me, it gets even crazier. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character finally hit level 25 and break the system. He finally hit the mark. At this specific level, legendary hidden skills are finally unlocked for him. He just learned Absolute Movement Control level 1, along with a massive Earthquake Awakening skill called Destruction Wave. He also unlocked the White Suri Ankle Awakening skill, Absolute Territory. Shutra realizes this is the moment everything finally ends. Suddenly, a blinding light erupts from his shield as he prepares to unleash a special absolute move against his enemies. His mana surges toward the approaching giants, completely erasing them within his absolute territory. Even the blue giant stands there frozen in shock. Now pay attention here, this is where Shutra finally senses his own power. This new awakening skill is absolutely next level. It is his first time using it, but the mechanics already feel like second nature to his body. In this space, he is God. Every remaining giant is paralyzed by his magic, leaving them with no way to escape his reach. The blue giant screams in agony as Shutra reaches out his hand, coldly ordering every last one of them to die now. The monster collapses, unable to move, when a sudden green gale swirls around and swallows the bodies of the fallen giants. As the wind dies down, Shutra stands alone. But the toll is heavy, his strength vanishes and he sinks to his knees. Shutra blacks out, realizing he did not think his aura consumption would be so high. He is now completely and utterly exhausted. Suddenly, He looks up and sees the blue giant is still standing right there before him. Surprised, the giant is also weak, but still upright. Shutra curses, wondering how it could survive such a devastating blow. Without warning, the giant flings its arms wide and launches a final, desperate, magical assault on our exhausted protagonist. Shutra is paralyzed, unable to dodge. A second later, a flash erupts in the forest, and a huge column of dust rises into the sky. Dust clouds the giant's vision, giving Caitlin just enough time to jump in and repel the deadly attack. Shutra is shocked she came back, but she screams for him to take her aura. She holds out her hand, shouting they have to hurry. Shutra immediately agrees and reaches out to take her hand. Incredible power begins to radiate from them. Shutra can feel her aura flowing into him, instantly replenishing his empty reserves. But the giant is not finished yet. It lunges from above, determined to crush them both into the dirt. They barely dodge the impact. Shutra glares at the beast, realizing he has just enough energy for one more shot. His eyes glow crimson. This time, he is definitely going to finish this giant. He swings his arm and lunges, activating his lethal negator skill. He draws special mana from above for a destructive explosion. When this skill hits, everything nearby is getting completely obliterated. A red glow erupts inside the giant's chest. Dark magic surges outward, spreading through its massive body like a deadly poison. You saw that too, right? A deafening roar echoes as the giant finally begins to shatter into pieces. A moment later, the giant is completely obliterated, scattered across the land. Caitlin is left speechless by that insane technique. Meanwhile, Shutra collapses again, falling back into a deep unconsciousness. Felicia and Carrick rush over, terrified for his life. But then, Felicia spots a strange magical line nearby and freezes in shock. She screams for him to watch out, but Shutra is out cold. He can't hear a thing as another monster lunges for him. Suddenly, Sylvan arrives and sends the monster flying with a massive kick. Felicia is relieved as Sylvan orders his troops to finish them off. They shout their loyalty and charge right into battle. The soldiers join the fray with wide grins. Sometime later, Shutra finally opens his eyes, finding himself safe in a bed. He sits up, wondering if he blacked out yet again. Honestly, he is starting to get used to waking up like this. They are in a ship cabin where Caitlin asks if he is okay. Felicia immediately scolds him, telling him he needs to rest. Shutra says he is fine and asks how Caitlin is holding up. She reassures him that she is feeling perfectly healthy now. Sylvan walks into the room and loudly announces that the 9th prince has finally returned to the living. Shutra looks at the stranger in confusion. Felicia just smirks, telling Sylvan to introduce himself since he is her twin brother. Sylvan introduces himself as the prince who roams the skies. He also mentions he is the benefactor who saved them yesterday. Shutra can't help but smile at the guy's ego. He is grateful, but he still wonders how he ended up on this ship. Felicia explains that she reached out to him while they were at the lycanthrope village, but never expected him to actually show up. She just wanted to keep him in the loop. But his sudden arrival was a total surprise to the entire group. Sylvan admits he couldn't just sit back while his little sister was in trouble. Plus, he says Shutra's performance was quite impressive. And trust me, you and I are going to see Shutra reach even crazier heights. Even the prince admits he's strong, leaving our hero totally stunned. Alright, stick with me. You and I are about to see our main character face a fate he never expected. Felicia asks what Sylvan is talking about, since Shutra was already recognized by the Lord of Swords. Shutra yells about the Lord of Swords in confusion, while Shatra watches him, sensing his sharp intuition. Amita, resting comfortably in Daphna's arms, hops down to tell them how glad he is everyone is safe. Shutra is shocked to see him, but Amita quickly thanks him for his help. They protected the last flame and the guardian spirit, so Amita promises he will craft him new gear. Shutra thanks him for this, but Amita says they have work to do and tells him to follow because the last flame wants to meet the 9th prince. Amita warns the whole group to stay focused and show some respect for what's ahead. The last flame sees everything. They eventually stop, staring up at a massive building that leaves them speechless. Inside is breathtaking, featuring a colossal tree growing right through the center of the entire building. They meet a girl named Capron, who says she is very pleased to see them. She is the spirit guardian of the spider forest, but Shutra is skeptical this child is the real deal. Greenwind explains that she is just a vessel for the spirit, not its true main body. The current guardian is still young, and the giant spider from legend was the previous spirit guardian. She did not show up during yesterday's battle because she was too young and lacked the strength. Shutra understands the situation, but he is still confused about how these spirit guardians have children. Amita announces that only the prince can move forward, while everyone else has to stay and wait. Shutra tells Greenwind to head out, but she snaps back that she has a real name. He suggests she stay and chat with the guardian, since an opportunity like this is very rare. The guardian smiles, and Greenwind finally agrees to stay. Amita starts losing his patience and shouts for the 9th prince, who says he is already coming. A moment later, they are inside the building with Amita perched on Shutra's shoulder. They reach a set of giant gates, and Amita warns him to be careful as Shutra smiles. They push the doors open and enter a room where a glowing aura radiates from a mysterious bowl. Now pay attention, Shutra realizes what this is, and Amita tells him to reach out and touch the flame. Shutra hesitates, but Amita reassures him that this is an unusual flame and there is no fear. Shutra reaches out and touches the flame, freezing instantly as the power takes hold. A violent wind swirls around him as a mysterious figure appears, saying they have finally met. He is completely speechless when he realizes the person standing before him is the Knight of Conquest. The girl reaches out to him, leaving him wondering if she is actually the last flame. She asks if he knows who the Knight of Conquest is, but Shutra is struggling to process everything. She just gives him a knowing smile as magical energy spirals around him. She speaks of conquest, war, death, and famine, the legendary 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. These are the horsemen of the end, beings who exist to bring about the destruction of the world. Watch closely here, because he is so different that she cannot even understand why he was chosen as conquest. Usually, the horsemen are defined by a thirst for total destruction long before they ever receive their titles. Not only does he not desire death, he seems completely unaffected by the darkness of the role. Normally, these horsemen are heavily influenced by the 4 beings who grant them their overwhelming power and will. They are driven by that force to speed up the end of the world. Surprisingly, Conquest is not trying to take over his mind, making her wonder what his true goals are. Shutra is stunned as the knight looks at him and asks what he wants. While the horseman of death seeks the end, she asks what he wishes for instead. Shutra searches his soul, thinking back to his previous life and his desire to return to his world. But what about the world he is in right now? And trust me, we are left with a hero who just wants to stop the lycanthrope slaughter. Let's watch him end this slaughter together. He remembers Caitlin taking his hand to lead him, fueling his drive to save all his loved ones from total destruction. He vows to protect them all. The Knight of Conquest simply replies, "Very well, she is a king born to conquer and subjugate all, and she knows the perfect way to grant his deepest wish." She asks if he will become the Demon King. Shutra freezes and looks at the goddess. His only goal? Change the tragic ending of this twisted game once and for all. He accepts the path of the Demon King. Immediately, a strange power begins to warp around him. She prays his wish comes true, knowing the King of Conquest does not actually crave the end of the world. She leans in close, tilting his chin up with her hand. He masters level 1 divine power as the embodiment of flame, forging a permanent and lasting alliance with the legendary spirit known as the Last Flame itself. Back in the room, his level rises. Amita stares, wondering what makes him so attractive. The Last Flame orders him to gear up for what is coming next. Deep in the secret orchard, Amita reports they are running dangerously low on materials. Shutra studies the map on the table and asks what materials they actually need. Amita points north toward the Lake of the Sun, where strange monsters with metallic bodies live, and tells him to hunt several of them. Shutra wonders if dragon skins and bones wouldn't be enough for the job. Amita snaps that those are just the basics. They need way more variety than that. Replacing all his gear is a massive task, and Shutra is stunned by how much he has to contribute. "Wait, you're a legendary blacksmith and you don't even have materials?" Shutra asks, confused. Amita yells at him to stop stalling and go get the materials if he wants new armor. A terrified Shutra obeys as their magical ship soars high above the forest. Pay attention, because Sylvan confirms that the legendary Callus lives in this lake, and its one true weakness is using pure divine power. It is pure metal, a rare water-repellent material. Karak is impressed by the rare find. He shouts that Sylvan really knows everything. Sylvan laughs, reminding them he is a prince of the skies. Felicia grins at the strange coincidence. It turns out she was already heading to the Lake of the Sun anyway. She explains that her ruin exploration map from the palace already included this lake. So going there now is a perfect chance to save everyone a massive amount of time and effort while they explore. Caitlin is surprised. "A ruin exploration map? I can't wait to see that." She is genuinely excited to see what secrets it might hold. Shutra and Green Wind check the special system together, wondering how on earth he managed to accumulate so many points and powerful skills. They decide to save a few and distribute the rest of the skills evenly. Reaching level 25 also powers up the Royal Knights to a brand new level. His capacity for recognized knights increases from 2 to 3, and he can now summon the Royal Guard once every 3 days. This is a huge win. He starts thinking about who to add to his guard. I know what you're thinking. Caitlin or Felicia would be perfect, but it's not that easy. Suddenly, she leans in and tells him he smells completely different than before. She realizes the scent of the Last Flame is clinging to him now. Greenwind screams that a gentleman smelling like another spirit is absolutely disgusting. She blasts him with wind. Karak looks back, confused by the sudden commotion. Sylvan announces they have finally reached the Lake of the Sun, but looking down, he is shocked by what he sees. A massive monster erupts from the water, roaring with rows of razor-sharp fangs. Sylvan recognizes it instantly. A sea serpent? What is that doing here? He can't believe a creature from the deep ocean is in this lake. He screams that it is way too dangerous to stay, and they need to pull back immediately, while his crew frantically shouts that they're on it. Wait, trust me. You'll want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a showdown where Shutra decides to settle things personally. He draws his blade, placing a hand on Caitlyn's shoulder. As she wonders what is happening, he apologizes, and a massive magical aura erupts around her. He shouts that he is right there, but before he can finish, Caitlyn tells him to cut it out. Shutra dives straight for the beast's maw. He triggers the dragon blood spell, while the monster lets out a deafening roar. Golden light pours from his magic sword, just as he realizes his timing is absolutely perfect. This monster is the perfect test subject. He activates his ultimate magic, making the entire area glow with raw power. He unleashes Dragonbane, striking the creature hard. Later, they reach the shore of the Lake of the Sun. As the ship lands, Caitlyn starts yelling that he has gone way too far. She is not his battery. He apologizes while scratching his head. Caitlyn understands the situation but demands a warning before he drains her aura again. He agrees, but Felicia tells them to zip it. A pack of cultists is nearby, and Sylvan is ready for fun. The protagonist tries to pull him back, telling him to wait a second. The cultists look like solid metal, but that armor only covers the surface of their bodies. They need to aim for the mouth. Since they are weak to cold, ice magic is the best bet. Now watch, he has a much more brutal method ready for us. He calls on his aura to cast Aura Blade. This thing will slice through any armor, no matter the strength. He lifts his sword, leaving everyone around him completely speechless. Felicia is stunned, asking if he is serious, but then realizes how cool her brother looks. She wants to see him hunt the cultists alone. Sylvan blushes, telling her to leave the hard work to her big brother. He can take all of them on his own. He lunges at the roaring beast while the rest of the crew watches in suspense. Shutra asks if dumping the work on him was okay. Felicia says he can handle it. They should eat and rest before the big mission tomorrow. Carrick almost pities the fifth prince, but Sylvan is tearing through those monsters with zero effort. He laughs while hacking them to pieces, and you and I can see he is having the absolute time of his life, as he asks if we're watching. He stands over the cultist corpses, boasting that a whole herd is no match for a heavenly prince. Everyone is happy, and Felicia says it is time for medals. After finishing the collection for Amida, they move on, and suddenly strange magical helmets materialize over each of their heads. Caitlyn is confused, so Felicia explains the spell allows them to breathe while exploring underwater. Carrick is amazed. Felicia smiles, asking if they are ready to explore the ruins. She ties her hair back, and they dive deep into the water. While checking the map, the main character pauses and waves them over. He points to a gorge where they find a hidden pocket of air to breathe in. Carrick is shocked this place exists. Shutra explains he simply felt the exit was there. Sylvan takes the lead, while Felicia handles the navigation. She disagrees, putting Shutra in front while Sylvan guards the back. The rear guard? The strongest should always protect the back. A wise plan. He draws his swords, telling everyone to relax because he has got their back. The guys grin as Felicia gives the serious order to move out. Shutra warns her that this place looks worse than the ancient Thunderbane fortress. This lair has been dead for millennia. Greenwild turns to her master, pointing out a strange detail, and they both notice ancient writing carved on the wall. Let's stop here. You and I will have to decode the mystery of these letters next time. Alright, you and I just heard the system report about a fallen level 1 race. Shut was shocked to realize they were writers. Felicia watched him closely as he spoke 10,000 years ago. The apocalypse actually happened. The 6 pillars of magic couldn't protect them. It felt like pure negativity, though he couldn't be entirely certain. Now watch this, Felicia panics, demanding to know how he can even understand those ancient symbols. He stared at his magic hand in confusion until a massive beam of light suddenly erupted in the distance. Every eye was on him as Felicia shouted out, desperate to know exactly where he was headed. Shut walked toward the light and froze, realizing he finally found the source. There, floating in the air, was a magical cloak, glowing with intense power. Trust me, we just found a legendary cultivator's gear.